Welcome to the New Athens. You need to emerge from this COVID 1984 pandemic. The New Athens, the blockchain think tank, brings you those tools to understand the chaos swirling around us and the forum to debate how a new generation will take control from the GOVIDiots currently mismanaging our nation and our world, with a breakaway civilization leaving us behind. Watch our Friday Night Lights live stream from the bunker on the New Athens YouTube channel for the best that is thought and said on the issues of the day. Ask not what the New Athens can do for you. Ask what you can do for the New Athens. If you like it, leave a like. If you like the content, please subscribe and share. I'm Lorenzo Mefsud, founder of the New Athens. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Good evening, and welcome to the New Athens here from the bunker. London calling. London calling. Will the last person to leave please turn out the lights? I think that sounds that adds so optimistic, isn't it, Oliver? It's like I was listening just then and I thought, well, you know, we were trying to have that sense of something can be saved, and whether that's actually true is another matter. I mean, we're 6 months down the line now, and here we are on election night, as you can see, a fork in the road. On one hand, on the left-hand path, the sort of satanic path, not the good sense of, but in the bad sense of, you know, sort of a pedo, incestuous dynasty with all that's rotten about the Western world, what's rotten about our political class, what's rotten about our ruling class on the one hand. On the other hand, this message of hope, this message of a potential renewal, this message of the deplorables, you know, as we saw with Brexit as well in this country, this one last stand, this one potential last stand against tyranny, against China, against this new phase of the Kissinger China economic system that we've been looking at as having started in 1971. A friend of mine today sent through a picture of well, it was a summary of how Thatcher would have reacted to the lockdown. I mean, it was and it was kind of like a bit of a hagiography. It didn't really make a lot of sense because you know, it was here. Thatcher's approach would have been to protect small businesses at all costs, knowing that without them we would no longer have a country, but a population serviced and enslaved by international corporations. Also, as a scientist, she would have genuinely assessed the risk posed by this virus, which has a mortality rate of much less than 1%, and she would have realized that weathering the storm through herd immunity was the wisest path to take. She would most likely have chosen the route similar to the one taken by Sweden. There, authorities actively discouraged people from wearing face masks, which they said would spread panic. England and Wales suffered double the rate of excess deaths than Sweden in April and May this year, and they have not yet saddled their country with unimaginable levels of debt. Lockdowns cannot prevent viral spread. They only delay them at an unnecessary cost, both economically and socially. Thatcher would have stood up to the army of flawed advisors, and she would have rebuffed the globalists at the UN. She would have shrugged off the hubristic chairman of the World Economic Forum and ignored the communist head of the WHO. She would have said, no, no, no. And in doing so, she would have saved our country from financial ruin. What a load of rubbish. Globalist shell. I'll show you. Thatcher jumper. If you just Google Thatcher jumper, if you give me the screen, we can see exactly how much of a globalist shill Thatcher was in her day. She brought us further into the EU clusterfuck, and that was her model, was globalism. We've had, you know, forces arrayed against us since 1971, both on the so-called left and the so-called right of our political spectrum. everybody's been okay with all the factories going off to China, whether it's the old left or the new left, whether it's the Thatcherite Tories or the nice, friendly Tories of David Cameron, whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans. Until we saw Brexit, until we saw Trump, there was no alternative apart from radical socialist revolution on the very far fringes of probably the old left, which had a totally different view of how the economy should be structured. But they kind of died off, and in their last vestiges in Corbyn became au fait with this new alliance of the corporate class, wokeism, and globalist economics, and so finally we have this transformation into the overall and absolute consensus where there's no alternative. We're just farm animals. And so it's been said many times that the answer to 1984 is 1776, is the American Revolution. And that's why we fly the flag. And so here tonight on election night, we've got to watch as the Americans decide whether the West has one final last shot at redemption, or whether it's the jackboot of the Chinese Communist Party, and that's our fate. We'll watch and we'll wait, and we'll see a little bit of what's going on. But
I'll just I interject. You say one last shot.
Yeah.
Now, would it be fair to say that has it always been like this? Has it always? I mean, everything is us against them. You know, as individuals, we look at, this is what I want, this is what I'm willing to give up, and this is what I'm not willing to give up. And however in whatever situation you are, it's that is essentially the barrier of, or at least the frontier of, sort of personal, and that's the frontier between yourself and yourself within a community. Now, I don't want to live in a Chinese social credit system where the internet is used as a tool to
command and control.
So let's say the Americans vote for Trump, and Trump gets 4 more years, and now let's say Biden gets in, and it goes the international route. What happens then? What happens after Biden gets in?
Well, we move back to international free trade. The tariff war with China is dropped, and China gets to tsunami over the American economy, washing it out once and for all.
And so the Americans don't want that. The American people don't want a weak economy. Why would Biden do that?
America is the last vestige of, as we've discussed many times before, with their nation of a constitution, is the last vestige of what we can see as the best of civil liberties, of the best of the Western tradition. Okay, there's the elements of the worst as well, but that comes with globalism, with neoliberalism, with interventionism, as we saw with Bush, with Blair, and we saw with Obama as well, carrying on the same trajectory. And that trajectory was laid out by Bush in 2001 with his Axis of Evil speech after they did 9/11, and the reaction to that was a clamp down on civil liberties. It was one of the trial runs for this. What we're seeing now is a real thing, and that was the kind of the fake thing. And so in Bush's Axis of Evil speech, he said, well, where we're going to invade? We're going to invade Afghanistan. This was September 2001. He said, Afghanistan, Iraq, where you were, Syria, Libya, Iran, and North Korea. So we were going along that trajectory. Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize before he even took office. because he was meant to be the Hopi changey candidate, which was going to shade off the neoliberal kind of conquest dynamic, and he didn't. He carried on exactly along that trajectory. He invaded Syria, invaded Libya, and caused the chaos of ISIS. And in fact, the CIA was funding ISIS. Now, the Trump administration really put a spanner in the works with that plan, and you could see that the opposition inside America, they'd already planned for war with Iran, and they already planned for war with North Korea, and that was averted. And that's like really one of the reasons that everybody outside of America can really be happy about this administration, because these past 4 years we've avoided those wars. In fact, there's now peace broken out in that rimland that we featured in our
so
our
like the opposite of
documentary.
Airstrip 1 and the war that keeps nobody knows what's being fought in what's Eurasia called in?
Oh, there's Eurasia and Oceania,
That's right.
the two other powers.
Yeah, no one's
Yes.
yeah, so what's
Oceania is like the Japanese empire
Yeah.
that includes Australia.
Eurasia is sort of Russia and
Europe. Yeah.
and what's the US and the UK?
Oh, that's there's INGSOC. I mean, INGSOC is the
language,
the kind of the language of
But Airstrip one
unified
is a little
offshoring. Yes.
yeah. So you've got these like anonymous wars going on over there,
And the alliances change, and you don't know who's.
which one is it? Is it
I mean-
Hamas or is it the other one? It's like is it that one or who's fighting who now? And it's like
Yes.
that seems to have been so Trump did go and have his it was the BBC when they did their thing about Trump, they said that he likes to play the big man, and he likes to meet all the big men like Kim Jong-un, and he likes to go and Putin. It's like the BBC painted him as a person who likes to be seen with powerful people. Where
Cozying up to dictators.
Yeah, cozying up to dictators. But what's happened is,
Well, if we look at the Hunter Biden laptop, he's been cozying up to Poroshenko in Ukraine, and to the Chinese Communist Party in China, and doing deals. When Joe Biden was so-called point man for the Obama administration, he went in and failed at all these negotiations, and got deals for himself on the backhand with Hunter Biden. People have been saying in the past few days, Trump has bank accounts in China. Well, he's in business. He's building hotels and things. That's expected from a business, from a construction business, on the international stage, building golf courses and hotels. But what's not expectable is a family whose only claim to fame is the fact that one of their members has public office. And so the only reason that Hunter Biden was ever in business was that he was, and James Biden, Joe Biden's brother, was that they were selling access to whether Joe Biden was a senator or the vice president. So
that is the oldest, like most few
influence
kind of,
peddling. Yeah. Like we are close to our family, the Biden crime family. You can get close to our dear leader, the big guy, Pops. And that's what we
Botox Pops.
Yes, he's sort of become very amazing.
Botox.
Well, he had a hair transplant. Well, apparently, what won him the vice presidency. Thanks to Alibaba, we've had my last haircut before Ali's shut down, and he becomes solely a drone pilot for us.
Oh right.
So he's next week we'll be doing drone piloting. We'll have some views of smart cities and architecture from the air. Watch this space. But to also hark back to one of our previous topics, the Great Body Snatch, which actually we realised just appears in the trailer. We need to do a new one. I was so fat then. Anyway, the Great British Body Snatch of 2020 was one of our early episodes. We really had a lot of traction. We were getting the word out that on the 19th of May this year, 2020, the British government transferred from an opt-in. At the start, on the 19th of midnight, on the 19th of May this year, the British government transferred from an opt-in organ donorship system with NHS organ donors to an opt-out system. This is like a quiet, very unpublicized administrative change in the way that the NHS organ donorship scheme was administered. And it meant that ring-fenced overnight, unless, as we did, you now de-sign up, and you sign down from the organ donorship register, and you wear the yellow star having the certificate.
Resign.
I think I've got it here somewhere.
Instead of resigning your organs to the government, you have to resign from the government's
scheme. And we were looking at this on the sort of ghoulish basis of, well, okay, our bodies are forfeit, and that's an impact on civil rights, and also the notion of, well, if you get in a car accident, you are in a coma. There's more of this. There's more of this rationing, this kind of utilitarian rationing, which we see with NICE, where they take away medicines that they find, or care that they find to be not profitable, not cost effective in the NHS system. So you have people turned off their ventilators. A lot of that, very close friends of ours, we've got dictaphens and so on, of people's ventilators being turned off during this crisis because they were not viable treatment candidates according to NICE's parameters. And so that we were looking at it at that utilitarian basis of body snatch, of like, your organs are being taken away from you. If you are in that car crash, in the end, you can either be a donor or you can be a recipient. Either the care is going into you to make you well again, or you're seen as a resource and you're harvestable for your organs. And the rhetoric of the site that the NHS set up was, you could save 10 people. You could have your corneas go to lungs, and kidneys and so on go to pancreas, go to all different people and save all of their lives. And so with that in mind, and with the NICE ghouls who portion out the medical care, you think, well, okay, it is true that you wouldn't need, as Martin suggested last week, it is true that you don't need your organs when you die, because if you're not superstitious. But then you'll either be a donor or a recipient in the sort of edge case, in the limit case. And that's one issue. So if you hedge that off from the pass of, it's not, I'm not going to be a donor, so I'm either a recipient or nothing, then that's potentially good for you in those limit cases, which we know are common. But so the deeper problem, though, which we've only come across recently doing the calculations, much more sinister. And I explained this to you a couple of days ago, and it's been on my mind ever since. And I wanted to tell you this evening about bioeconomy.
Before we go any further into the bioeconomy, let's have the listeners or watchers write in the comments how much you think you're worth.
Oh yes.
Let's have, before we show our back of a fag packet equation.
Yes.
Write in the comments, how much do you think your body is worth? Not to you, but how much is it worth to
as organ donorship? So it's been taken into this donorship scheme, which actually it undermines the notion of the market value.
Johnny Morris has just said 5 Bitcoin.
5 Bitcoin. Well, that's about 10. That's about 10k each.
50k.
So that's we've got £50,000.
£50,000
going once, going twice. Well, you're selling yourself short, Johnny.
50,000. So 50,000. 5 Bitcoin. 50 grand. Higher or lower? Everybody else.
Anybody? Any more bids? Any more bids? Is a Dutch auction going down or an English auction going up? Let's see who will sell themselves short. What was the here we go. Fiona says, I remember a big toe being worth £10,000 insurance about 20 years ago. Yes, Fiona, actuarial value. You're on the right lines there. You're on the right track. Think about insurance policies. Think about catastrophic loss. Think about life insurance, how much people get paid out for life insurance policies. Andrew is an ophthalmologist He should know. My corneas are 5 Bitcoin in themselves. Andrew's got it pinned down. So
that's 5 Bitcoins just for the corneas.
50K for so we had whole body, and now we've narrowed it down to just the corneas have our 50K valuation. And Andrew, very good friend of the show, should know he's an ophthalmologist.
Okay.
So that's from the horse's mouth. He knows what the market value is.
Johnny Morris's comment is, hang on, I'm not willing to be murdered on the black market. You asked how much I think I'm worth.
Exactly. So there's not, Johnny, you've hit it on the head. There's not a marketplace for organs. Johnny says, I buy bodies. I know what the market value is. How? For
it's 5 Bitcoin.
Yeah. in the back streets of London. We're trying to work out what this value is, and we were discussing this sort of back of a fag packet calculation last week and onwards, and very conservatively, the problem is the lack of a marketplace. Like, we can't get a price. If only I had Michael Flatley's legs. What you might very well. He's like ghoulish. Well, yeah. So,
I reckon his knees would be shot. I reckon.
That's straight on. No, he's allowed to put his arms out. He's not. The other ones have to keep their arms down the other side.
Yeah.
You know, Michael Flatley gets to.
I'm sure he's got great quads and calves. I'm sure he's got great muscles there.
Yes.
But I think his joints will be shot by now. So I think,
Andrew's put in a bid for 10 Bitcoin for lungs, kidneys 15.
10 Bitcoins,
so 100K for
lungs.
For your lungs.
Is that a lung each? 100K each?
I think maybe for the pair.
Okay, pair of lungs. Pair of lungs.
Going
pair of lungs 200 in the market.
Yes. Pair of kidneys 15. So 150K for your kidneys.
It's like.
So why is this important? There's not a marketplace. Well, maybe in the Uyghur concentration camps coming out of China, you see across the road every day from the Chinese embassy, you see the Falun Gong. They've been saying for decades.
Because the Chinese, as I understand it, there's no waiting list for organs in the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah.
Now I've read that in Private Eye. So Ian Hislop says
exactly. Ian, you're on the hook. So we've had friends of the show in the medical profession who have seen the organ studies, the medical studies that come out of China. China. And the word on the street is, there are also documentary filmmakers we've met making films about this, that the organ matching is too close for a randomized study, and that implies that they're being made to order in the study. Ollie just watched his hair. Yes, it is very lustrous and voluminous.
Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin per hair.
Surely nobody would sell their own pair of organs, says Fiona. Well, that's the thing. So you could imagine a marketplace where you want to start your startup, and you need 100K, and later you can get 200K for 1 kidney, and you're a healthy person. You know that you get by, but you're high energy. You'll get by on 1 kidney, so you sell your kidney. You do your startup. You make a cool mill, and then at the end of the sort of the 2 years, you get a kidney back in. You do a swap back, and you get one back. Now, of course, that's an absurdity. It does happen in Mexico with the cartels. It does happen in China with the Uyghurs, sadly, very sadly. And there is a marketplace because the very rich want harvestable organs, and there is a market for it. But there's not an open market for it, so we don't really know what the price signaling is. That's kind of by the by in a material that bioeconomy. What is this? So, good friend of the show. Yes, Colin.
Good friend of the show.
Good friend of the show, Lauren, who just responded to us.
All right, Lauren's going to get
and
involved in it. I'm just saying something to keep the dead air alive.
Did it keep it
Like your
alive? Keep
organs.
it alive. Yes. Let's find the Zoom actually. So yeah, we were saying the other day, I don't feel, she said, she's an artist. She said, I don't feel that I'm worth, maybe hundreds of thousands I don't know where the value is. I feel like I'm a person. I'm wandering around the world. I maybe can produce value in my work, but I can't necessarily, I don't feel that I have this value just waiting around. And so, and that's kind of a consciousness that we have of here we are. Oh, she's calling again. Admit. Here she is. So that we can hear it from the horse's mouth. He said, I don't feel that I have, how do we get rid of minimize me? I didn't want to see myself.
Let's start from
ask to unmute. Here we go. More.
What we're doing, sorry, chaps,
we're trying
gents
to
who's watching, we're trying to get the how much is a
zooming.
horse's
Hello.
mouth? We're getting the Zoom call set. Here we go.
Hey, how are you? So tell us what you were saying about welcome everyone, Lauren Taylor, curatrix extraordinaire from zooming in from Berlin, our foreign correspondent in Berlin. And I was just mentioning to Oliver and to the audience how you mentioned that you didn't feel that you had that value waiting there. You said you were wandering around the world and you didn't have the sense that there's this inchoate value pregnant in you of lots of money.
Hang on, are you talking to me, Lorenzo? Because
Yes.
I've literally just tuned in.
Okay.
Watching,
I
so
was just because I
I
just
just
mentioned our conversation.
I'll get back to you when I'm sat down and I've got a glass of wine and I've had a think about.
Okay, have a think about
current conversation.
Yeah, do that. Come back in a sec. Okay, I'll continue the spiel. So,
Bye.
ciao. So Laura and I were talking the other night, and we were going over some of this body snatch stuff, and she was saying that she'll say it again, and when she's got her wine and she sat down and enjoyed herself. But you're not unmuted, darling. So we were discussing this.
How much is
bodily.
someone worth? And she was saying she doesn't know what she was. But
Yeah.
before we answer that, Johnny Morris asks, how much is a horse's mouth? Answers in the comments, how much a horse's mouth is worth. Is a horse's kidney worth as much as a human kidney? Because horses are animals, and animals are traded because they're useful.
Yes.
In the same way that slaves are traded.
Yes.
In slave markets.
Yeah.
There's a value that in the past and in different parts of the world at the moment, there is a value on human life. Yeah. And it's an ugly business. People are traded as slaves. That's one way of putting a value on a person.
Yes, we were talking about this the other day. We'll go into this thread in a minute. But our value, bioeconomy value. How do we really approach this so it makes sense? So let's find the diagram that we found the other day. Organ value. Let's like tip the veil.
Ooh.
I
think a horse's mouth is worth. Oh, here we go. Great linguistic gymnastics to weave my curve balls back to Fonzie.
Body organ value. I think it was here
Fonzie.
On the black market.
Thank you, Johnny.
Here we go. Thanks, John. Let's use this as an example. Here's some black market valuations of kidney, $250,000. Here we go. Heart, $120,000. Liver, $157,000. These are priced live by the minute.
And what is the source? What is
fun? Only
Offal.
Fun Facts, Offal.com. There was meant to be a diagram. Let's see if we can find the diagram. Here's the diagram. This is like a bit better. There we go. Okay, so this is one source of potential black market valuations of a liter of blood. That's interesting because that's a renewable resource, right? So this takes us back to our donation notion. So organ donation, you don't need it when you're dead. So it's okay to give it up. That's the gambit that we're being given by this harvesting, by this harvesting entity. It's called the NHS organ donorship, and you've got to sign off to not be part of it. Now, you can't sell the NHS $300 worth of your blood. You've got to donate it, right? So here we go. I'm not advocating you give up your hand and forearm for $385 in a bath of ice with some sort of Zeta cartel scenario. What I'm trying to articulate here is that we're given a veil of donorship, which undermines the notion of ownership, and shades off away from ownership, because that's uncomfortable. Why is it uncomfortable? Because if people realize that there's inchoate value in their own body, if we realize that we have value, that us walking around the world, we get the impression that we have this sort of serfdom where we've got to appeal to somebody to give us cash. We've got to sell something. Okay, not your body, but your time, your labor, your energy, your skill, your intellectual property, your presence, your obedience. There are many different valencies, many different qualities, many different valuable aspects which you can trade for some cash, because although we live in a society of abundance, we treat ourselves and one another like we're living in a society of scarcity. We've built our institutions on scarcity, this idea there's not enough food to go around, so you've got to kind of scrabble for it. And we're seeing some pushback against this now with this notion of helicopter money, with this notion of universal basic income, which I would say a year ago was a loony kind of tech left idea.
Jeremy Corbyn idea, wasn't it?
Yeah, or Andrew Yang was running on it in the Democratic primaries on a single ticket, kind of single issue platform. And suddenly it's here, it's now, it's everywhere, and people are actually being kind of mothballed into their houses and taken out of the public domain, taken out of the public sphere, and turned into like waiting entities. They're boxed in, cocooned in as a potential harvestable element, but they're just being doled out a little bit of cash to keep them in that stasis. That's very damaging to people. It's damaging to their imaginations. It's damaging to their energy. I mean, napping.
Well, it's like China in Eastern philosophy is different to Western philosophy, and like Renaissance. It's not Renaissance. What I'm trying to say, Enlightenment philosophy. So Chinese and Taoism is like the way. It's like just put up with it. It's the way of the world. Whereas, in the West, it's more. You can control your own destiny. And so it's like there's philosophy. Which philosophy are you going to choose? Are you going to choose just being caught up in the storm and resign yourself to the way, which is the social credit system, or are you going to be a person who makes their own decisions, is responsible for their actions, and it's up to you. You can think whatever you want. It's not neither of them is wrong. It's I don't want to be dust in the wind. I want to be I want to convince myself of the illusion of free will. Do you know what I mean? That's what
Fiona says. I hope that most of us consider ourselves worth more than the commodity value of our body parts. However, if you're struggling to eat and feed your family, 10k for a big toe might sound pretty good. And goes on to say, blood depends on where you live. I was very keen to donate my plasma after bad COVID, but they didn't want it because I'd been sick too long since contracting it. I think they've revised that now according to a very long COVID friend. Do you have a long COVID friend? Where are we going with this? There's a real nub to this, and we're getting to it with our ideas about valuation. A conservative valuation of whole body organ worth would be like £1 million. Right? Now, that's not the value of the organs taken out of you in a bath of ice. That's the value of them present. That's the value they hold inside you. Now, okay, there's this sort of, people say, okay, well, I have a house, it's worth like £500,000, but if I look under the floorboards, if I look in the cavity wall, if I look in the attic, I can't find any notes anywhere. So how does the money, how does it value? Well, it's the potential value were you to sell it. But of course, as an asset on your balance sheet, you can take that 450 quid, says James Lloyd, as an asset on your balance sheet, that house can be leveraged to create debt and create equity for you. So you can get a loan, you can get a mortgage, you can get cash, not off the basis of selling it, just off the basis of trading some of the equity value inside it. Now, the same is true of any asset. What the powers that be don't want us to realize is that we're not these kind of serfs having to wander around the world asking people to trade with us for some small cash to keep us solvent, as Fiona says. We actually have, the value is in us already. We are the value. The reason I've come up with this new term, bioeconomy, is as a means of explaining how we are already the value. It's already present in us. Watch out, it's the fascists. They're here to take us off the air. We're already, the value is already inside us. And that's true of so many forms of life. That's true of so many assets that are, the powers that be want us to want off the balance sheet. They want it off the books. They don't want us to think about how it could be valued. Because they need us to be dependent. They need us to be in need of their charity. Now, where do we go from here? That valuation of £1 million for your organs. 65 million people in this country, and overnight, on the 19th of May 2020, the government opted us in to the organ donorship program. So instead of being an opt-in system, an opt-out system. So you've got to get your certificate to say, I no longer want to be an organ donor. Why is that important? Because actually, much as it's parked under this like donorship scheme of like, we don't want to talk about the money behind it. We just want it to be nice. You don't need your organs when you're dead. It's fine. Well, no, that's not the case. They created on that night, that one night, 19th of May this year, the government created £65 trillion worth of asset value. And who did they give that asset value to? Who did they give it to? They gave it to themselves. They put it on their own ledger. They put it on their own books. What we should have happened on the morning of the 20th of May this year, we should have all woken up with £1 million in a trust fund for us, saying this is the value that we've assigned to your organs. And then on your natural death, you will then hand over your organs into the NHS system, but we're going to balance those books by saying, okay, you have now in trust £1 million of your organ value. That would be a fair system. That would be the system that makes sense, because that asset value exists. The bracketing of that value is before the 19th of May 2020, those organs were just lumps of flesh, pullulating, throbbing lumps of flesh inside
your
toroidal boundary, the boundary of your body. And now they're, as of the 19th of May, they're assets. And whose assets are they? They're the government's assets, not you. Although they're in you still, you're holding them temporarily for their rightful owner. You're now the serf of your own body. And we have more guests. We're trying to get above the permitted number, although we're in a place of business. So unfortunately, you don't get to determine that, do you? Now, 19th of May, organs become assets. They're no longer just private property that expires with you unless you very kindly donate them to science. Now they're pre-valued and they're on someone's balance sheet. And it's not yours, ladies and gentlemen. It's not yours. It's not mine. It's not ours. What's the import of this? bioeconomy. The bioeconomy is the underlying economy that we don't actually talk about. It's there nevertheless. What do we use? Fiona says, is this where free will comes in? Johnny says, is there a bigger question that ties this all together? Fiona responds, asset of a work of art by a living or dead artist, for example, for our own people, government, NHS, UK university, or foreign assets. So yes, as we're getting to here, we've got the various tranches of value that we have in our lives. We have the work that we do, we have our intellectual property, things like our art, or our creative work, and our innovation, maybe patentable value. We have our organ value. Hey, how are you? So 65 trillion pounds of value in one night. Ish, great friend of the show, Tesla branding tonight. His battery's charged. He's plugged in. Anyway, 65 trillion pounds worth of value in one night. The Great Body Snatch 2020 has justified the expense of furlough payments, of bounce back loans, of C-bills, credit facilities. It's all accounted for. Now, that's why the money spigot has been turned on by the big capstan, by Rishi Sunak, because they have the backing. The backing is not gold, it's not Bitcoin, it's the organs. Now, there are lots of kinds of value that we have. If you look at the Natasha says, hey Natasha, oil prospector. She's out of town at the moment, but she'll be back in town. We'll talk about oil discoveries off the coast. Of course.
So before, in the olden days, when like those big stones that were with a hole in, which represented money.
Oh, you go see them in the British Museum. Very good gallery.
What are they called? Those,
some like toroidal money.
Yeah. They're like it was like a way of being one better than bartering. It was like the original currency was a stone with a hole in it.
Would you say being good? You couldn't carve it off. Yeah.
Because at one point, they got so big that they were moving it from one side of a piece of water to another, and the boat sank and it was in the water.
Yes.
But everybody knew it was there. There's no way of getting it out, so you couldn't steal it. It was impractical to steal, but everyone knew it was there. So they said, "Oh, right, okay. Well, you own an eighth of that because you did this." And then the idea of kind of a bank exists. Anyway,
underwater bank.
That's,
underwater vault.
Yeah.
Yes, that's.
But liquid assets. No. So
don't liquidate yourself.
So that's oh, there we go. Conch shells, Polynesian islands. Is that exactly Fiona? That's the kind of thing.
Yes.
So, but that's a useful.
Let's build
tool.
a fort and buy this place with beads, as Bob Dylan said.
Oh right, okay,
yes.
Okay. But it was a useful innovation to get beyond bartering.
Yes.
And then
so if you've got shoes and I've got carrots, I don't need to find you who has carrots and
exactly. You can have an eighth of the toroidal liquid asset.
Yes.
Either way, and so it's a useful innovation in the concept of finance, which enables
universal means of exchange.
Yeah, universal means of exchange, and then it's like, okay, well, but and then another develop then becomes fractional reserve.
Yeah,
which is useful. Fractional reserve is useful because
it generates credit.
It generates credit, which enables speculation. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, it allows people to gather resources now, like a joint stock company, like the East India Company, or like the Darien expedition when Scotland tried to create a colony in Panama. You know, they needed resources today that then they could pay off the value in the future.
Yeah.
And they need people to bet on the continuation of their value chain.
Yeah. It allows
so that they can give.
betting,
they can give into the joint stock company now, gather the resources, do the project, and then see the benefit on the back end. So that's why there's this notion of long-term bond yield, as we were discussing before, and interest rates. This is why that makes sense, because the future time commitment has the notion inside it that there is a benefit to vesting this value with you while you go out and do your East India Company, and then we'll all benefit on the back end.
Yeah. And
so when that inverts, when the bond yield curve inverts, as we saw in 2019, or the interest rates go negative, then we say, okay, the future's bad. The future's going to be bad.
But basically, would you agree that it was a useful innovation that fractional reserve was a useful innovation in the world of
in like the 17th century in England, and of course.
Okay, now is it true to say, I'm playing devil's advocate with the body snatch here?
Yeah.
I'm playing the government side. I'm playing the World Bank side. I'm playing the internationalists.
Yeah.
So, would it be fair to say that it's a useful innovation to create more money, which enables people to do more speculation, more startups, whatever? You know, is this? Oh, has someone gone? Hang on a minute, the penny's dropped. If we monetize people's assets that we can have after they're dead, so it doesn't affect them. Actually, I mean, it slightly encroaches on the concept of the self, but in exchange, everybody essentially gets £1 million, which we can take for ourselves. But you know, is it like a bit like is it a useful device? And if so,
not without consent.
Not without consent. Okay, because
you should have woken up on the 20th of May this year with £1 million in your trust fund, and they say, okay, well, we're doing this. We're issuing you this sum, this fund, in exchange for the future commitment of your organs to the NHS. And of course, with the quantitative easing reality we're in now, money can be purposed in that way, away from the supply and demand curve saying, oh, is there a market for it today? Instead, we can say, no, this is where the money ought to go. And so we've seen that the breakdown in this idea of issuing money only because the market says there's a supply demand curve, and we can say, okay, well, there's the price. Instead, we've seen, oh, well, we want to keep businesses open. We want to make people not lose their livelihoods. We want to make people not starve in their houses while they're not doing anything useful because they've been locked down. So we've seen that now the state this so-called capitalist state has come in and said, okay, well, there's this purpose. Here's a useful purpose of like these people not being destitute. Therefore, we're going to put money here because it's a social good. And so that now we've seen the breakdown of this neoliberal idea. The only place that money can go is where the market says there's the supply demand curve that's being fulfilled in that moment of the spot price. So what we can see with this bioeconomy is the self-issuance of value. Like you've issued yourself this £1 million because you have the organs. They're there in you. They inchoate value. And so like your house, you can then get credit lines off it. You can get debt. You can get equity. But that's not been allowed for you in the balance of trade because that cash has been taken in by the exchequer. And taken in by the state. Very good idea. Always use up your organs, everyone. Use up your organs, drink, smoke, take drugs, live fast and dangerously so they don't get any value on the back end because they've already stolen millions of pounds off you. So where else is there bioeconomy really? Can you really see it at work? In a mortgage, right? Oh, wait a second. Fiona says, isn't it morally right to donate our organs after death to help others? Isn't that better than crippling taxes when we're alive anyway? Well, yes, but isn't it better that we all see the real value of ourselves in advance? So money is commutative. We can either do money on the front end or on the back end, and it doesn't matter. The best example is a mortgage. So, Oliver, let's say you're a bank, and I come to you to get a mortgage to buy a house. So I come to you, I've got a small amount of cash in a deposit. I've got my credit score on a piece of paper, written down my reputation. And then you, with your banking license, look at my details, assess my deposit, and then write a piece of paper. And that piece of paper, based on your reputation, is a document worth, let's say, £500,000, and you give the £500,000 document to me. It's just a piece of paper. You don't go into the vault. You don't take people's deposits and say, well, these people's deposits. You don't pile up the cash and give it to me. You just author a contract, and you give me that piece of paper. I go away to my counterparty, give them £500,000, which is represented by this letter of credit. They go off, they buy a yacht, they're very happy, they go off to Monaco, they run it in the casino, whatever they want to do, buy some Bitcoin, probably a good idea, or gold. And we've created, by sitting down at that table, you, the banker, and me, the mortgagor, have created £500,000 by writing it on a piece of paper. So that's already gone off to him. He's happy, he's gone off with his loads of money. And then I get possession of the house, but you get the deeds and the right and title and the lien until 25 years later, I've paid off another £500,000. So that piece of paper created instantly £500,000 on the front end of the deal. And then on the back end of the deal, 25 years later, through my labor value, I've gathered some cash and I've given it back to you along with interest and the deposit. So overall, this contract as a whole has created £1 million, 2 times £500,000, one on the front end that we gave to the guy immediately and he went off, and another £500,000 that I created for you, the bank, the mortgagee, created for you, the banker. And then the interest that you take as your fee for handling the whole thing. Of course, you get the benefit of having authored the money to begin with, and then the deposit as well, whatever. So over £1 million based on a signature on a piece of paper. No money changes hands. It's all created. The bank creates the debt, which creates the money. They don't subtract it from the existing deposits in the bank vault. Why is that important? The bioeconomy. The reason why we can do this is because I pledge, because I have kids I want to send to private school. I want to be a pillar of the community. I'm not like a bad debtor, whatever. I'm going to pay this tithe, back to the bank over the 25-year span. But what's really being bought and sold is that 25-year span of my labor that comes as income to the bank. And then they can sell on that debt in their CLO's security structure and package it out and on the waterfall and so on as a mortgage default swap package. And so they don't even need to look after the fact that I'm going to be paying every month. They can farm that out to third parties and to insurance policies. So why is this important? Because in each case, we author £500,000 on the table at the first day of this contract, at the start of the mortgage. We already have written into existence this money.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter where it comes in the deal. So we could as easily issue the £1 million, let's say, as our organ value to ourselves on day 0, and then recompense it on the end of the deal. Because we haven't got banking licenses and we don't think as finance, we forget that it doesn't matter when the money is authored. And of course, that massively changes the incentives, because if you had £1 million today, you could go out and create a film studio now and then make it profitable through its lifetime, rather than saying, I've got to scrabble now or sell my soul to an investor to get some cash and then do the activity. It's the activity's already there in you. You're a filmmaker. You don't need then the permission slips, because there's value in you. So let's say your career is 40 years, you earn this amount of money in that time through your contracts for your company. Well, it doesn't matter whether that's at the end or at the start. The value, the total lifetime value of you as a contractor is the same. You were saying.
What was I saying?
Something
useful device.
Yeah.
Fractional reserve.
Yeah.
I think it's a useful tool that has been created, but what's happened is that the people who created it haven't given it to, they've stolen it.
Yes.
It's a theft. It's a body snatch. Right. Yeah. It's a big robbery of human capital.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a robbery of, that's very well put, robbery of human capital.
Like the Great Train Robbery. Remember that?
Yes.
Those guys. There's a post office train.
Yes.
But this is like, we're the train full of goods, and we're the human race on these rails going through time and space.
Yes.
Going, and we are the human race. It's like, that's a thing.
Yes. And people don't see the value. They're taught not to.
These gremlins have run up they've stopped the signal, and the train stops. Everyone's going, oh, what's this? And these gremlins have come in and stolen all the organs out of the train.
And all the lifetime labor value.
Yeah, yeah.
So the key to this is birth certificates. If you look at birth, we talked about slave contracts earlier. Birth certificates are slave contracts. If you think about how much the state wants you to have a birth certificate. They don't invest that much attention, money, time, effort, and into dissuading you from keeping your child off the books for your benefit or for the child's benefit. They say, oh, we're going to take it off you if you don't register it within a certain number of days of its being born. And the reason why this is because they want to author the contract that starts off our train journey. Now, we have this thing called a government, which is a public service corporation. It's a corporation that serves you, the members of the public. They are your servants. They're all our servants, but they don't see themselves that way because they have, as Fiona identified, Fiona says, is this your thinking for leveling up the generational economic gap post-baby boomer pension privilege? Avo on toast for snowflakes equals no home ownership. Yes, Fiona, we're just getting onto this. So the Great Reset is coming. This is part of this encroaching social.
That's avocado on toast.
Yes,
so
smashed avocado on toast. The breakfast of champions, the breakfast of choice for fixie bike riding, beard wearing, beanie headed, Shoreditch types. What are they called? Hipsters. Yes.
Hipsters, yeah.
Yes. Tipster for hipsters. So
instead of like 6-shooters from their hips, they've
yes.
got debt.
Yeah. Student debt and like mortgage debt.
Yeah.
So yes, pistol whipped at dawn. The Great Reset is coming, and it's our advice here at the New Athens to get all of your assets out of pounds, dollars, euros, all fiat currencies now, like today. The election's coming, fork in the road where they're going to have massive collapse with Biden or the potential for renaissance with Trump. However, there's going to be what approximates a civil war in America within the week. Currencies are have an international market base. The pound will go down, the dollar will go down. There'll be massive chaos on the international markets. Get your money today into gold and Bitcoin, and to an extent property as well, because there's going to be a devaluation of currencies. It's part of the Great Reset, which we see coming out of Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum.
Build back better,
as we see in Biden, and we see with Boris Johnson now having been co-opted by the globalist forces.
What Lorenzo's trying to say is, where is the £300 billion furlough coming from? It's coming from inflation, which makes assets more valuable than cash, or it's coming from income tax raise of 6%.
Or
that's
the ring fencing,
26 and 40 to 46.
Or ring fencing of your internal assets.
Organs, exactly. They're invading the toroid.
Yes, they're invading the toroidal mass.
Yeah, the toroidal boundary.
Yes, that boundary between you, your body, and the outside world is being reached into by the finance.
If anyone's, we keep using this word toroidal.
It's a donut. It's the shape of a donut.
Imagine a donut, and the reason why is because basically human beings are toroidal in their.
This is Oliver's theory of.
If you just describe the human body in geometrical terms, you describe it as a torus, because it's a thing with a hole in it. So your mouth to your arse is essentially outside your body. Everything between your intestines and your skin is inside your body. It's a torus.
So you could conceptualize a human as a big donut, with the digestive system being the hole in the donut, and you can also see that with magnetic fields is also form a toroidal surfaces. You see the diagram of kind of the globe and the magnetic field coming out of the poles and going in. But
the internationalists are invading our toroidal boundaries.
Exactly.
Toroidal borders.
Sovereign territory. Your self-sovereign territory.
Your own sovereign territory is bordered by your toroidal boundaries.
So £65 million worth of value ring-fenced onto the books of the central bank, thanks to your organs, not given to you, not given to me, given into the banking system to prop up this kind of quantitative easing nightmare that we're in at the moment. Self-issuance of value. So we've gone through how a mortgage contract itself at the start creates maybe £500,000 worth of value, and then matching another £500,000 on the end after I've used my bio value, my bio power to pay back the bank. Now, in each of these cases, we're taught not to conceive of ourselves as having the value already. We're taught as having to go out into the world and find the value, when in fact it's there present in us. The birth certificates are the start of the trail. They want us to be registered because this public service corporation, which should be serving our interests, actually has an actuarial department. And there's also Lloyd's of London in the private sector. What does this do? It says, okay, we're having 100,000 babies born in this year in Britain. Their contracts will mature in, some of them in 16 years going to the trades, some of them in 21 years going out of undergraduate scholarship, and so on. And so we can then say, okay, in this year, this is the birth rate. The contracts will mature in 16 to 22 years, and then we'll start having maybe 40 years useful labor value from this kind of livestock, and then retirement. So we're going to try and shave that off because actually it's bad for the books. But this is how we start to see demographics being used to create national debt, because you say, okay, well, we have this number of workers who are active in this year. We lose this attrition to, workplace deaths, to retirement, to, people getting cancer and heart attacks, and we'll, kids having car crashes, whatever. And we lose this attrition rate, but we've got this stock of livestock that are active in this year. And so we can then say, what's the long-term bond yield of having them work for us? Well, so where the zeitgeist is coming now, we saw it with Kanye West the other day on Rogan, is he said something very interesting, which was black people in America need their own citizenship. That's how you solve the problem of autonomy among people, is by giving people this solidarity of a citizenship that's just for them. And he's creating this compound down in Calabasas. It's kind of like a smart city.
Who's this?
Kanye West. He appeared the other day on Joe Rogan, and he was looking at building his own kind of startup civilization, as we've been looking at often here on our show. That's kind of where the zeitgeist is. We looked at that economist the other day on InfoWars, and she was saying, look, we've got to harness greed. That's what we found in New York. On Wall Street was the notion of, well, instead of moralizing at people of how to be, if you just harness the greed, so that if somebody's acting in their enlightened self-interest, they're also doing the most profitable thing within the value chain.
They're invisible handing themselves.
Then invisible hand themselves to do the right thing without having to moralize to them. So this is where we're heading to in terms of creating a parallel structure. This is what we're talking about with Rose McGowan, who's in Mexico at the moment, and she's looking to harness the Me Too movement into a means of getting people to embrace their own freedom, the parameters of their freedom in economic terms, in terms of the freedom of movement, in terms of the freedom of expression and speech and ideas. That's really positive. But the way to harness this is to create a parallel citizenship where we align the magnetic field. So actually the compass is pointing in the right direction. So we can issue this value to ourselves. We can issue this £1 million worth of organ value. We can issue this, maybe £5 million worth of labor value over a lifetime. Not the amount you get paid, but the amount that you get sold for by your employer, which is a different value. If you look at even people like corporate lawyers and consultants and bankers, there's the amount, there's their fee, and there's the higher out fee, which even at that end of the spectrum is, the higher out, they may be paid, £500, but actually they're being sold for 10,000 to the client, and they don't see any of that profit margin even at the top end of the spectrum of highly paid labor. There's a huge amount that's creamed off as that margin by all of the ownership class, and actually we can undercut all of that by issuing ourselves the value and creating that sovereign territory.
So here's a practical point:
asserting that sovereign territory.
The government have said, right, we're doing the body snatch. We've now everybody has to opt out of having their organs So how do you assign the value to themselves? How do you do that practically? How do you practically assign yourself the £1 million that we've?
Well, so we were talking with our friend last week. He said he gave an estimate of £45 million of personal value over a lifetime. That might include your organs, your labour, your presence in a polity,
a
your
lifetime of human
consumption,
labour and its organs is worth £45
your
million.
intellectual property, maybe, the total value. And his notion was, you can issue that to yourself as a trust fund, and then you can fund your life with that, and it changes all of the dynamics of startup costs, of getting to where you want to go.
Who would you have to convince to give you that money in exchange for that document that you could write to say you have the rights to the result of my life? Is that right?
Well, you're issuing it to yourself.
So if I write on this piece of paper, Oliver Nelkin issues himself £45 million worth of
Oliver Nelcoin. Yes.
Now, that's all very well.
Yes.
I've written a letter to myself.
Yeah, the same way the bank writes a letter and creates. Yes.
But
letter of credit. So you've authored yourself a letter of credit. You're saying, where can you exchange that?
Oh, sorry. So it's up to me to build a reputation, to have that brand on top of the letter.
The Nelcoin letterhead.
Yes, the Nelcoin letterhead. I need to convince somebody that letterhead is worth more than the paper it's written on. Is that right?
Well, I mean, in the same way that you can convince somebody this pile of bricks and mortar is worth more than the bricks and mortar if you just divide them up and put a hod on your back and kind of cart them upstairs.
Yeah.
That actually the air spaces inside this bit of bricks and mortar have X £100,000 worth of value if you were to sell. It's kind of if you look at that's crazy too, because it's just air boxed in. We're in bits of air that are boxed in.
Yeah, so people have faith in the idea. People are willing to exchange things they feel valuable for a physical house, because even though it is just some dust and water and pressed together
and containing air,
it is. People have faith in it. So the name of the game is, how do you get people to have £45 million worth of faith in you before you even set out on your business journey?
£45 million worth of faith. That's quite a nice way of putting it. You're coming up with all these.
Fucking great, me.
Yeah, you're full of neologisms tonight. Neologisms.
Oh God.
Fiona has responded. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, it is our thinking for leveling up the generational economic gap. And if you're a poor artist hipster, sell your organs for Bitcoin. That's a choice of being an employer or employee. There's risk, effort, reward, stress, opportunity, talent to weigh up there. Yet people melt down gold, works of art for the gold. Carson says, "Hey, Alf. Hey, Andrew. How are you? It was Halloween last weekend. That's insightful, Andrew. You're onto something there. It was All Souls Day after that.
Yeah.
It was a soulful day.
Well, so if the UK adopting the Halloween tradition,
of trick and treating.
Yeah. What does that represent? So America, the land of the free, but I don't like Halloween. I prefer Guy Fawkes Night.
We were talking about Guy Fawkes and how my father was very anti Guy Fawkes, because he said you shouldn't be celebrating somebody who was a revolutionary.
Yeah.
No matter if they were a weirdo Catholic who wanted more Pope. No, it's putting that aside. It's burning revolutionaries and laughing at how much you support the king. And I really loved fireworks as a kid. I liked it. But he said no, it's bad. It's like,
I never thought of it in those terms. But I must admit I do agree with I was going to say Lorenzo.
I don't necessarily agree with him. I mean, it was his point of principle that it's kind of like a Tory festival, because it's like smacking down.
Yeah, but no, I mean, in pagans, there's when the nights draw in, there's a big festival.
Yeah, Samhain.
Yeah. Pagans, whatever did it.
Equinoctial night.
Yeah,
yes.
And then they get co-opted by whatever the current power structure is, whatever. And I mean, yeah, maybe Halloween is a better choice than burning freedom fighters.
Hmm.
I don't know.
No matter how compromised they were. Fiona says, this feels more like Halloween special than American election due to all the guts to go, well, should we have a look at what's going on in the election? Let's go to, what does The Guardian say? The Guardian says, US election live, California undeniably on. What do we see here? Ian Ho reports from Phoenix. Adam Gabbett reports from Cleveland. Then we have, what does the Breitbart have to say? Rush is appealing for MAGA. Rush Limbaugh, radio legend, pleased with Trump base. Get in line. Do not leave the line until you vote. Warns that the left would get rid of elections. It's like a news feed, American news feed aggregation. What have they developed on Morning Consult? 2020 exit polling live. So do we have issues that are motivating? Losing is never easy, not for me. Trump says election winner should be known tonight. So tonight will be like our early hours of the morning, potentially, but the race. Who's leading in swing states? US election polls tracker. Is this useful? Maybe not. Oh, here we go. There's some kind of little tracker, live tracker of nothing in particular. You see, the problem here is statistics. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. And the problem is that firstly, we have these shy Trump voters who last time didn't say that they were voting for Trump because they didn't want social opprobrium. And that was in 2016. And now it's the stakes are even higher. That's going to be a real issue. But I was doing telephone banking at Labour HQ for Ken Livingstone in 2012 when he was running to gain back the mayoralty from Boris. And we were on the battle bus, and it was great fun going around with Ken. He's a lovely guy. But back at Labour HQ, they were doing kind of telephone banking, and they did it between 5 and 7 p.m. on a weekday evening. And so there was a massive skew based on the medium of the polling, because if you're calling landlines in Barking at 5 to 7 p.m. on a weekday evening, the only people who are there and who are also willing to talk to you are kind of older, lonely people who don't have anything better to do with themselves for the evening.
Baby boomers.
Exactly, like boring boomers. And those are the people who have a landline, are next to it, idle, bothered to have a chat with some bod from a political party, canvassing them on what their interests are in the upcoming election. So we can see this here. You take tiny samples of, when you have an electorate of 300 million, and you take a sample of 1,000 people, and then say, oh, we've got one soccer mom, and there's like 5 million of those, and so we're going to take what her opinion is and extrapolate it to all of them. It just doesn't make any sense, so the best result that we've seen in the past few hours has been, there was a poll, I think I sent it to you, of betting.
Hey guys, if you want to make a cup of tea, do well. Make yourselves at home.
There's also wine in there.
Yeah,
there's also wine in the fridge.
Honestly, get amongst it. You're very welcome to.
Yeah, no, go for it. So we've seen.
Of course.
I can't find it right now. Is that going to come up? No, it's not going to come up. So bioeconomy. Someone's Wi-Fi dropped out, but that was great. Are we still on?
Yeah.
We got some.
Streaming.
Yes. I like you look very jobs. Jobs. Coronavirus testing, armed force operation.
Oh yeah, so
Liverpool lockdown, whole city to be tested.
There's 2,000 army personnel going to help the test and trace. They're doing testing. They're mass testing all of Liverpool, and that will just find the number of false positives, which will bolster the growth rate of the virus, which will keep us in lockdown for another month.
Yes, false positives. Yes. So
bullshit.
Where are you going? What about Demi Rose on the Daily Mail? Don't know. Ken the Jew hater. Hopefully there won't be fireworks tonight. Alphonse will have to put out. Goes back to his time in Afghan. He has to say it based with the defenders. Honest, the explosions made him hard. Where is Joe's? The next question is, when is Joe's live stream starting?
Joe who?
Rogan.
Oh,
there
Joe
should be a
Rogan
Rogan live stream starting.
Live stream. Geez, that'd be good, isn't it?
No, is it actually going to do that?
I'm excited about Joe Rogan.
Did you hear the thing where he might have had an earpiece in and might have been being controlled by
Yeah, by
Spotify?
Yeah, I
Relax, we're here. Was that his voice, or was that the voice of a woman in his earpiece because his head was turned sideways and the microphone's picking it up? From your experience with microphones,
or was it made after to create a fuss?
Oh, you think it was like a?
Yeah, you can't live stream someone else's live stream. No, you're right. Well, you physically can.
Well, we can, and what we'll do is we'll live stream it and then we'll comment on it.
Who in the audience likes Joe Rogan? Who listens to Joe Rogan in the audience? Answers in the comments.
Answer on a postcard, please.
I've been getting into him because I can listen to it on Spotify. Now I don't listen to
Incept
anything.
me.
Inception.
Incept me says.
You can't like Inception.
Johnny says incept me. Like, I already incepted you last week.
Right, yeah.
We're in your dream right now.
There we go. Johnny Morris says
We're in your dream right now, Johnny.
That's right.
You don't even know it yet. You're not even sure.
Whoa.
Johnny, we're in your dream, man. You don't even understand. This is all for you. It's going on behind your eyelids right now.
That's right.
My mask arrived. It was terrible.
The posh Alex Jones. That's what Johnny's called. Posh
The
Alex
lizard men are eating your kids, Johnny.
There we go. So where were we? We were talking about. This is genuinely tripping me
They
out.
They are. You don't even understand, man. It's not. You're not even ready for it yet. They've eaten your organs already, and they just incepted you back. So we're re-de-incepting you out of your own bodily experience, man.
There we go. Whole new way of doing things there.
Breaking the fourth wall.
That's right. How brecht you?
Verfremdungseffekt. Also.
Oh, well.
I think Lauren's back. Did you get your wine?
I might get fine.
Yeah, let's have a wine break. Did you get your?
The tash is to lick the coke off. Carry on, Alfonso. I'm going to go bust little boots.
Yes. May I? We have a New Jersey. We've got. Yeah, I will. But we have a New Jersey cup, and we have the MAGA. Make America Great Again. Okay. Come back in the room then, and we'll say hey, and discuss bioeconomy on Zoom. So, return to meeting participants. There we go. Where did I get the hat from? We got two, actually. Oliver's got one. I got the other. And we got it from a very good friend of the show, Russ Rossi, who came over on the night of the election in December. I'm leaving if you don't burn the hat. I mean, I can't burn the hat. We're in otherwise we'd destroy the insurance policy for the boxes of air that we're in. Exactly, and Ollie's house to the ground. That's the problem. We don't have enough cover for Naked Flames on live stream. That's often an issue. I think we may have some wine. We still haven't found out much about the election. That's yet to come, it seems. Have you got your wine? I've got mine coming. You can't minimize while you... Thoughts on polls, says Fiona. So the polls are always going to be wrong They're always, thank you. They're always going to be, sorry, mother. They're always going to be wrong because it's dangerous. It's dangerous to say that you're a Trump supporter in America. You might get your house burnt down or lynched. So it seems Lauren is rebelling over, sponsored by Cloudy Bay. Lauren is rebelling over hats. Apparently, the cockade of the French revolutionaries, sans culotte. Where were we? A titanic struggle. Two sides. Ah, here we are. There she is. Come to fight. Let's see how we do here. Do that. And hopefully we are live. Hello. Connect. Let's see. Here we go. And somehow we do this. Was it that? There we go. And then we can do something like that. And then I don't know how you do this. Wait, is it that? There we go. Ah, hello. Are you on mute? Are you muted? I'm not muted. I need to ask to unmute. Don't speak, just unmute. Hello.
Hello.
Cheers.
Can you hear me? Great.
Oh, you've changed position. You've made the background slightly different.
Make that better, yeah.
Yes. Very zoomable, highly zoomable. Cheers to the bioeconomy, and to the liberation of all people in their self-sovereign territory.
Can I remove myself? Can I opt out and then decide to independently make my organs available for science? Because I've always been a donor because I believe in it, but I am horrified at the organ grab.
The Great British Body Snatch. It's in our title. We featured it months ago. I told you about it months ago, and we didn't realize until you and I had that conversation the other night. It's a very powerful conversation, very powerful, because it made me do the calculation of that $65 trillion pound valuation. Like, that's where the furlough comes from, right? It's like they did it on the 19th of May very quietly, and now we're in the Thunderdome. We've got Mad Max in London, New York, all the cities are shut down, but they've got the money, and the money comes from those assets on the balance sheet. And it was you that made me do the calculation finally.
As ever, your Lady Macbeth, my dear.
Always a great muse, darling. Always a great muse. So you said to me, and I thought it was very powerful, you said that you didn't realize that you were carrying all this value around the world with you. You didn't build that into your consciousness. No,
I mean, not, at least not monetary value. I mean, obviously I value what I am and what I have very much, don't we all? But in terms of what they could value you at, it's not something you really consider, is it? And it's something they're clearly banking on you not considering. Yes. Quite central banking on you. My sort of slightly skeptical side about this would be to say, you are quite a hypothesist, Lorenzo, and how there's. Yes. But we've been looking. I can't even trying to be, devil's advocate and trying to prove you wrong on this. I can't really. No, you're right. It is exactly what they're doing, and it's fucked. And yeah. Well, thank you, darling. That's a great vote of confidence. With $1 million in our bank account, saying, "Oh, you have now been valued at this. You are. Only they are." I mean, you are the curatrix. You're a creative person, and for you not to have that consciousness Yeah, it's bizarre. Yeah,
is surprising, right? Because if anybody, somebody who uses their
my calf muscles, darling.
oh yes, yeah, we have. I found the calf off pictures actually the other day when we were in Dan Rex's apartment, and we had the who's got the bigger calves calf off when I just come back from Spain.
Oh yeah.
I think maybe with cycling, I've built them up again. A bit harder now, a bit smaller and harder, but nevertheless. So how would you like to issue yourself with your whole lifetime value and then use that as a means to build your reality?
What, and go shopping tomorrow?
Yeah. So look, as we explained with the mortgage contracts, it doesn't matter whether the value is created on the front end or on the back end. It's commutative, right? By authoring the mortgage, you've already created £500,000, and you give that off to the guy whose house you buy, and he's very happy with, and that money's not taken out of the bank vault. That's just written on a piece of paper. So that's created between you and the banker in a moment, and then the biopower. Hey, Ed's here. The biopower of your 25 years of work then matches that. So you've created £1 million. Lauren's here.
Hi,
Ed's here.
Hey,
Hello,
you look
Beth.
very
Hi, darling.
alive.
How are you?
I'm good. You're excited about the
We're going to get
upcoming...
along today.
What? Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, maybe.
Yes, come
yeah,
sit. So
What about going off?
Maybe we can do a duet.
yes, that sounds very good. So you can self assign that value if you don't rely on the banking license. If you don't say, well, I've been given permission by the banking license to let this happen, but you can just do that for yourself. Do you think that's an empowering message?
Oh, cheers, man. I've got some of that.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
I'd like to write
Thanks.
myself back for $1 million
Why
tomorrow.
don't you reach over there? There's a bottle in there.
Well, we'll just
You
start
are
with
£1
this.
million for visiting and being you. Brilliant. Thanks very much.
Yes. So I mean, this is where the Lloyd's of London, or where the registry office works anyway. So they want these number of slave contracts, these birth certificates piled up every year. We've got 100,000 babies. We know that in 16 to 21 years, their slave contracts are going to mature, and they're going to start being income generating assets. And then they'll have a 40-year contract term maturity, and then they'll be grandfathered out as claimants on pensions. But so the government is planning you generationally as an asset. The question is, can you just take that into your own possession?
I feel like I just find it bizarre that I have considered. So, for example, the fact that you can now, governments, people have bought stars that are sort of inanimate objects off elsewhere that have nothing to do with the people of Earth, and yet they've been commoditized and bought and sold and named, and I've always found that abhorrent.
You mean stars, celestial bodies, not like Hollywood?
Organs inside my body.
Yes. So from the great celestial bodies orbiting in the universe down to the pullulating, wobbling, fleshy organs in your body, it's all been monetized.
The micro, the macro, they fucking stitched it all up.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
gross.
Do you think? Do you see there's a pathway to raising consciousness about this and showing people that they can self-author, that they can write that check to themselves?
My question is, I do see that, but is it the most important thing right now? On principle, it is. In application, is it? That's my question. I don't really know if anyone else has an answer for that. It isn't you, Lorenzo. I know your answer, obviously. So, but I don't know. I just it's easy to get wrapped up with ideas as opposed to manifest actuality and what's important right now. And I'm not saying that that's just a question that I'm raising. I don't know what the answer to that is. Maybe it's the most important thing, but also maybe it's not right now.
But as we saw with that Economist on Alex Jones, that video, the 1 minute 30 video of
don't watch fucking Alex Jones.
No, I sent it to you. Yeah, I sent it to you the day before yesterday. I sent it to you the day before yesterday. That it was an Economist woman saying 1.5 minutes. It was saying align the money to the incentives of people. You remember that? It's an Economist. I sent you a 1.5 minute video 2 days ago.
I didn't watch it. You sent me Alex Jones all the time, and I didn't watch it. No.
It was a clip. You saw it the other day. Anyway,
any amount of fucking alternative rights bullshit. I demand intelligence.
Stage set's falling down.
So
I like to, sharpen my toolbox by listening to the inane bullshit that I sometimes have to listen to.
Where from? Where?
But I did not. Alex Jones. I'm sorry.
So, the zeitgeist. There's a zeitgeist now in.
Artist, everyone, by the way. On Twitter, I have no idea what people listen to and follow. So I just.
There's a zeitgeist now that can be harnessed about sovereignty, and we've seen it with what we're discussing in terms of Rosecoin. That's cooking up slowly in Mexico. She'll be on the show soon, and we'll be discussing these sort of her idea of these 3 pillars of. She may be. She has another issue with a hurricane.
Yeah, I think she's probably talking on some political shit tonight somewhere.
She's been having lots of issues with hurricanes over that peninsula.
If she is, I want to talk to her about Luciano's statue.
Oh, that statue. Yeah, that's a good idea. Find the guy and we'll get them together.
Luciano's statue.
Shall I see if he's up for it?
Yeah, see if he's around.
Mariana will, his girlfriend. She's she's a lot
because they put that up now in the courthouse, haven't they? With Weinstein.
Yes, they have. Yeah. Okay. So when I was over there, when I met them, so I spent most of the week hanging out with them, and she was being cast in bronze in Philadelphia, so I couldn't meet the actual statue, but I went to his workshop and I kind of saw all the little ones and then all the casts from which she came. And basically the plan was, I'm not sure exactly when it happened, but the plan was originally in April, was that she would be erected, around the closure of the case.
Yes.
For Harvey Weinstein. And so that was, I really wanted to talk to Rose about that and get her to help publicise the unveiling of that, because I still don't know if she knows anything about it, but he sent me a picture.
I sent her the pictures and we discussed it briefly, but we've discussed it briefly, but not in terms of like going there, because none of us can go there right now. That's kind of mothballed as everything else. But no, 3 pillars of freedom that she was thinking about, and we discussed last time on the show: freedom of movement, freedom of speech and thought, and freedom of finance through crypto and through the blockchain. Those were kind of powerful as a kind of articulation of what we were looking at with the Grecian triad of the true, the beautiful, and the good, and the way that these kinds of triads of value can articulate where the money should go and how it should work.
Freedom of movement, freedom of finance.
Yes, that was her triad that was of interest. Which is very powerful, and so that's a means of getting. I mean, she expressed it to me.
I'm not going to cock up this time. I'm going to invest. I have
Good.
money to invest this time.
You're going to invest in what?
Bloody hell, I'm going to.
Well, you need to.
£200 for a Bitcoin.
I know. It's on 10k right now. Ishi's trading it in the corner.
I bought 0.01 Bitcoins for £100.
Well done. How's it going?
Yeah, good.
Is it appreciated?
I don't know. I think I've earned 27p since last night.
Oh, great! Well done. Oliver went into Bitcoin yesterday for the first time. A new convert. So Ed, how are you? What's been occupying your mind? We've been doing some
Oh,
harmonizing
usual,
of
music.
of 18th century music, which we always
Well, you're
enjoy.
looking very dark and
19th
mysterious.
century,
if you don't
19th
mind my
century.
saying.
Who, me? Me?
Yes.
I am dark, but I don't know about mysterious. Or maybe I am.
Did you,
I don't know.
did you cut
I feel like
your
I
ear?
feel, I don't know, like
Have you
you're
shaved
become
your
darkness for the last
Maybe you
4
shaved your ear. Like,
All right.
dark.
Is it- what do you say? I'm dark. I'm olive colored. Cappuccino. Yeah.
You're looking very dark and brooding and kind of, romantic.
Oh, thanks. Where are you
Word,
anyway?
Like,
this is under the bow.
Where are you? Is that a golden bow?
It's the golden bow.
Berlin.
Ah,
Yeah.
It's a Berlin bar.
Corresponding live from Berlin, done. The Berlin pad.
Very nice, very nice. So
It's nice.
watch
Really
out
nice.
though, because it seems there are coordinated attacks these days.
yeah.
They did Paris and Nice and Vienna. Berlin is likely to be next, so watch out when you're on the street.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm staying away from Christmas markets.
Yeah.
I mean, I will get someone to go and look at the olive wood, but I'll be really quick.
Too quick for a
some
truck.
other ones on there.
Truck.
Some other ones at the
so-
I don't want to die for an olive wood bowl.
Yeah.
But
So
I've got food in my teeth, excuse me.
So who are you rooting for, Lauren? Who are you rooting for in the States?
Who am I rooting for? Oh gosh. I mean, well, that's an
I think I
interesting
know
question,
the answer
actually.
now.
I mean, obviously not fucking Trump, but there are, as far
There's some more.
as I'm aware, financial reasons and blockchain reasons why Biden would be a bad thing. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think that, however interesting and however illuminating it is having a Trump in government, I just can't think that having him in for the next few years will be anything other than a fucking catastrophe. So whatever other reasons there are,
no new wars.
I don't know. However, I don't expect it to make a blind bit of fucking difference. I'm expecting a coup, frankly,
What do you
in
mean
one way or
by
another,
From
and
who?
possibly civil war.
coup?
There will be civil war before the end of the week. It won't be, grey uniforms for the Confederates and blue uniforms for the Unionists. But
I haven't even spoken to you. I'm glad I'm on air to do this, but I mean, this is completely ridiculous. But also, it's actually not. Are you aware of the Barron Trump conspiracy?
the Barron Trump conspiracy that he is
I don't know
QAnon.
how you love the conspiracy.
Is it that he is QAnon and he is a computer wizard? He's like an autistic computer wizard.
Well, yes, that as well. But you know that there's a book that was written in 18.
So when are we getting the results up then?
Something. Do you not know about it?
No, tell me.
No,
Go.
I can't remember the name of the author. I have to.
Unfolding.
Barron Trump conspiracy.
Yeah, Barron
Sky
Trump's
News.
Adventures Underground.
Barron Trump's Adventures Underground. Is this a
Yeah,
flat
it was
Earth
written
thing?
by, I can't remember the name of the author. Very interesting name. Fuck, I can't believe you don't know about this.
So he's
Given
like
how
a
much
time
you love
traveler from the past,
Yeah, basically, yes.
or he invents the time machine.
Obviously, the extended conspiracy is that it's all a conspiracy, and the whole Trump family are time travelers, and they've gone back in the past, and that's how they've managed to take over the world. So it's fun, but
I thought you said you didn't listen to
the same author. One
You sort of pick and choose, don't you, what you listen to?
I can't remember right now.
So
And another one, the opening chapter of the book describes the election at which the president, who is the least likely and favoured candidate, somebody who could never in a million years possibly run, let alone become president, becomes president on the 3rd of November,
yes,
and civil war happens. This all happens within the opening chapter of a book. I can't remember the name of the book, but it's also by the same author as the book Baron von Trump's Adventures Underground.
well, let's look it up.
It's very
Baron
interesting.
Trump's
It
Adventures
is very
Underground.
interesting.
Pull it up, Jamie.
Are we not having a
In the
live?
same book where it's also called Pence, like one of the.
Oh, really?
It's very interesting. Yeah.
There's a lot of Nostradamus kind of stuff of
Well, they're just books. They're fictitious books that have been
So
written
she
by the
hasn't
same
got.
author.
That's why she hasn't got time to listen to Alex Jones, is because she's reading all this.
This
Is it
conspiracy. Yeah.
Is it Ingersoll Lockwood?
That's why you haven't got time to listen to Alex Jones.
That's the one.
Ingersoll Milkwood.
Lockwood.
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 Under Lockwood. Yes.
Ingersoll
Honestly,
Lockwood.
I
an
was
American
surprised.
lawyer
I
and
meant to
writer.
think about it, because I thought, oh God, you'd love that. But
So
yeah, it's the most fun conspiracy.
so it's a
I've
hollow
ever
earth.
heard.
So it's like a hollow earth conspiracy where he goes into, I think
Yeah.
I did read about this, where he goes into like a hollow earth.
That's captain.
They were obsessed with this in the Victorian era, that the north and south poles were apertures into which you could go into like an inner earth.
Wait, I forgot a very
No,
important detail. The other important detail was that in the story, Trump Castle, or like Castle on Trump, is the exact same address that the Trump Tower is.
Oh,
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a few very interesting things. Anyway, you'll like it. Have a look.
Oh, fantastic.
so
Okay.
you've really sort of bought
The
into
book
this.
is a book and it was published when it was published, and that stuff all checks out. So, you know.
In the 18, so it's not like a retcon. It's not. They've not put it in the past.
It's not like
There are
that.
physical copies.
It's not like that fake.
Yeah, there's different
yes.
copies. You can
Emerald
buy it on the
tablets.
internet. You can buy, check it out.
It's not
There's
like a.
two
The
books.
emerald tablets are written sort of in the,
Actually,
in the
there's three
19th
books of
century.
interest. So there's the one that's about the election. There's the one that's called Baron von Trump's Adventures Underground, and then there's another one that basically is some kind of black magic, a hermetic journal of sorts. I'm not sure. So all
It says
jolly interesting stuff to get.
Oliver's pulled it up.
in The Last President by Ingersoll, in which New York City is riven by protests and the shock victory of a populist candidate in the 1896 presidential election who brings on the downfall of the American Republic.
Populist.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
It says Baron Trump is precocious, restless, and prone to get into trouble. Often mentions his massive brain and has a personalized insult for most people he meets.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Fuller,
Oh,
also,
like lying Hillary Clinton or
Fuller
sleepy
also-
Joe Biden.
Fuller also notes that Baron Trump lives in a building named after himself, Castle Trump.
Come on, what?
So there are physical copies of this book, which were published in what, the 1890s?
Yeah, what year was it?
Really?
1889, 1893.
Oh, and then it's the 1896 election. So it's like future-oriented
Yeah,
election. Okay.
Well, yeah, that is quite interesting.
2017 rediscovery. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
So it was dormant, and it sounds like a big old retcon, like some kind of comic strip,
HB
Marvel
Lovecraft
thing.
kind of
Yeah,
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah. The
Wow.
King in
Yeah.
Yellow. Have you read The King in Yellow?
No.
Oh, that's the precursor for Lovecraft.
I also think it's the most wonderful name. Isn't Ingersoll Lockwood the best name you've ever heard?
Ingersoll Lockwood.
Ingersoll Lockwood. I think marvelous name.
Ingersoll Lockwood. Is that like Ingsoc
Oh, yeah.
from
Ingersoll.
1984? Is Ingsoc is the Ministry of
Media.
Language,
It's the BBC.
Oh yes, yeah.
which we've
It's the
heard
BBC. Yes,
so
it
much
is.
about. No, so what's happening? Have we got any results?
That's
And have
what
we
I
got
want to
any?
find out.
And I'm just switching over to see if we have any updates on the news.
There aren't any results until 1
Which
a.m. I
day
don't
was
think.
that?
Um,
Okay, we're looking at-
There's not really. If you refresh all of the news sites, they're keeping quite cagey. Did you see Lauren? Did you see the betting map I sent you earlier, where it's all red?
Yeah.
So what that was, if you look, the only state that was blue was Colorado, i.e. Biden. The rest were Trump. That was a very interesting poll. That was a poll of betting, like the members of a betting website. And the question that was asked them is, who do you think is going to win the electoral college in the state you're in? So it had that sort of granularity of their betting-minded people. And it was asked about which candidate is going to win in the state that you're in right now. And it was a whole map of red, apart from Colorado.
That's interesting.
So
Yeah,
it's always,
really
it was more interesting to look at
It's not because the odds
people
were
who
greater.
like, No, it's just like, who do they think is going to win? It wasn't based on a particular bet. It was just like generally, but they're betting people. So they likely put a bet on themselves of what they think is going to happen because they're betting. It's 373,000. That's a big sample size, much more than like pollsters do like 1,000 and then just extrapolate it from there. So it's like, and it's based on state by state.
So you think it's going to be all?
It's going to be a landslide. It's going to be a red landslide. Essentially, the big question is: do you like a city? Do you like your city burning down? Yes, no. Yeah, that's the essential. The essential question of this election is: do you enjoy your city burning down? Because pretty much every city in America has had riots this summer, and one party, Trump, has disavowed it, and the other party, the Democrats, have said, okay, we're kind of like, we see the point. And that's the kind of the end of the debate in terms of...
I fundamentally disagree with your opinion on this, Lorenzo. You've been watching far too much shitty right-wing...
Okay, go on. Okay, give me the counter then. So the problem is that most people in America aren't political, like they're not party political, and they're floating voters. In the same way that in Britain, the Labour Party has, during Corbyn, the Labour Party had 500,000 members. And
hang on. All I have to say is one thing, which is essentially, yes, I agree that it's highly likely that there will be a Trump landslide, but that is due to the lack of education and the ignorance and the racism.
Why is Trump a racist?
Most of America, rather than
I can understand why.
Apparently, there is,
I can understand
burning.
I can understand why people might not like Trump.
Unruly blacks. I don't think that was actually.
It was actually white Maoists. It was actually mainly white Maoists.
Watching fucking Alex Jones and other.
It was mainly white Maoists that were. It's Leninism. It's the vanguard of the revolution. It was actually white people who were mostly pushing that. It was white Maoists who were taking to the streets and causing the chaos. But the racial idea was a fig leaf to like cause chaos generally. It wasn't like an uprising of black people. Actually, a lot of black people were very happy with the jobs that had come back to America from China. And so you'll see a lot of people in like black families who are not happy with the riots, and they're not happy with people like taking on the mantle of their reality and say, oh, well, I'm taking this person to my constituency. That never carries well. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a person who's doing something and I'm saying that these other people who's not me are on my side. That never carries well. You see what I'm saying?
No.
Like, he's saying that there is sort of this virtue signal of white people.
Tonight, there will be riots. There'll be real riots like they haven't seen before. On both sides. It's going to be fucking ugly.
Yeah, no, I mean, by the end of the week, there will be something approximating civil war in America, which is why...
you want to lay a bet on that? I lay there'd be no riots.
No riots?
There might be a couple of little skirmishes.
I'll put a bet there'd be no major riots.
Really? You think it's going to be peaceful?
What do you mean by major
riots?
Peaceful transfer. Ish goes peaceful transfer.
No, there might be a little skirmish, but no riots.
All right, 0.01 Bitcoin. Who wants to put 0.01 Bitcoin? I'll be the house.
How much?
I'll read it right now. If you want to stake it, anyone who wants to stake
any
of these conspiracy
my view is that
I'll take the bet on the
I
other
can
side
see
of
why
it.
people.
Really? Okay. What?
Donald Trump thinks that if the rich get richer,
Donald Trump is a time traveler.
It was good for everyone in
wrote
general.
a novel in the 1890s.
In a minute, I'll explain.
To predict his son's victory.
I want to hear what Ed has to say.
I just wanted to say I think that I can see some sort of valid, maybe a concern that Trump believes that if big sort of business captains do well, it will in general be good for people because people are like children and can't be trusted, and that they need a sort of mothership kind of nation and they simply can't be trusted. But I can't actually see the evidence that he's a racist, and I'm open to seeing it, but I can't actually see it. It's an old argument, but
so racism specifically.
I don't actually see that because he's from New York and it's.
I wish I had a bunch of facts up my sleeve. I'm not good at facts, I'm aware that there are a number of personal evidences from his mouth and his mouth alone that imply that he's very much a racist. I don't think that's ever in question.
I mean, for example, the thing about the bad hombres, I mean, that was a particular section of people he was referring to. There may be some ambiguity, but there's no need to extend it to every single person, south of the border.
Oh, so
But-
Mexico,
or do you-
he's talking about Mexico saying that there were coyotes abducting children, bringing them across the border. This has been an interesting question in recent weeks. There was a big play made in the debates by Biden about the 500 children who had been separated from their parents and the fact that Trump had cages. In fact, the cages were built during the Obama administration, firstly. And secondly, the reason Trump was separating children from the people who they crossed the border with is because children are a valuable, talking about biopower, children are a valuable commodity on the American border because the policy in the Obama administration was if you're with a child, the people who are accompanying the child are administratively the parents of that child. And then, therefore, they're allowed to come across the border with the child because the children were given amnesty. Now, what that led to was a marketplace of abducted children who were used by coyotes, who are the cartels that do the border crossings across the Rio Grande. And they would abduct children in Mexico away from their natural parents, take them into slavery, then attach them to paying customers who needed to get across the border, who were then trafficked across the border with the child. The child was then sold into sex slavery inside America. And the people who paid for the child to go with them went into America on a catch and release basis. So what they said was, you've got to turn up for an immigration hearing in like a year's time. Like, please turn up. They
What
don't.
is your source for this, Lorenzo?
If you, we can look at this in detail later
That's
and get
interesting. I
sources.
haven't heard this argument.
So what Trump was saying was
No, I
that
want to know what the sources are. I think sources are very important.
Yeah, we need
I'm
sources.
giving you
Yeah.
much shit.
Go on,
that you
I'll
post
be
on
the-
this
who's the
group.
guy?
okay, Jamie, you can
I'll
be
be Jamie.
okay.
I
Look up
post sources
coyotes,
on
people smuggling children.
Why didn't Donald
Across
Trump
the border.
explain this when he was?
He did. He was
Cross-
in the debate. So
cross-examined.
Joe Rogan said it's a travesty. Come on, man, it's a travesty that these children are being separated from their parents. And Trump said no. These children are being separated from the adults that accompanied them across the border. The business of trade across the border is children in slavery who are used as tokens to allow these adults to cross the border. And then
So there was a sort of
and then
loophole in the law.
yeah, there's a loophole in the Obama policy that there's an
Oh, right.
amnesty for children crossing the border.
Oh, okay.
So this is April 19th, 2012
What's
on
the source?
NPR.org.
Oh, National Public Radio. Okay.
Though specific statistics are hard to confirm, it is believed that a large percentage of immigrants illegally crossing into the border into the US have done so with the help of what's commonly known as a coyote, a smuggler or smuggling group.
Oh, that's what he meant.
Yeah, so he didn't mean actual like
Yeah, I thought it was
dog,
just
wild dogs.
No, I thought it was.
Um,
No,
it
what
just,
I'm saying actually, it doesn't doubt me for a second. I don't doubt for a second that's what happens.
So the
Of course
cartels
it does.
own the southern states of America, and that's because of the longest war that America's been in. Declared by Nixon in 1972, the war on drugs has not been ended. So it's the longest war America's ever entered into, and that war led to the destruction of black energy in America by the CIA importing heroin and importing crack into America to destroy the energy of black youth, which was creating the Black Panthers and other liberation movements in the 60s and 70s. The CIA realized that they needed to squash down that energy, so they took over the cartels, they took over the drug trade. They brought hard drugs in to destroy the black community, to destroy black families, and then in doing so promoted the cartels in Mexico as a means of command and control. Those cartels then created a beachhead into the southern states of America, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, and others, and have now created a cross-border pipeline where they can bring people, drugs, and MS-13 gang personnel, such that they can then undermine the control of the Americans of the border states and get the drugs pipeline coming to create profit. Now, the key here is the children under the Obama policy were tokens, which allowed you to cross the border freely. And so the children were the most exploited element. And they were the people who they were accompanying were called their parents, but actually they were bought and paid for child slaves that were coming across, that were being trafficked across the border to get paying customers across the border. And the cartels were profiting. And then they sold the children into sex slavery. And this is well documented. And it's a very dark thing.
I'm sure it is. I'm not arguing that.
But that's
It's a very sad occurrence.
Not many people know that.
And I mean, it should be well known because it's well
Well, I
documented.
didn't know it.
And the Trump administration, for all its faults, has not started
For all
any
it-
new
what-
wars.
I didn't
Has not
say
started any new international wars. It's not started the war in North Korea that was planned by Bush in 2001, and it did not start the war he did not start the war in Iran, which was planned in 2001
Planned.
in the Bush speech, Axis of Evil speech, September 2001. The Axis of Evil, said Bush, are Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, Iran, and North Korea. They invaded all four. Bush and Obama and Peace Prize winner Obama invaded Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and Syria. And they were going to invade Iran and North Korea too. But Trump put paid to that. We've had peace. This is why it's international non-American citizens. We should be supporting that campaign. Trump has brought about peace in the Middle East. He's not created war in North Korea
I
and
would rather
Iran.
boil my own head. Sorry, I just have to say it.
You boil your own head.
I'd rather boil my own head, darling.
You boil
Then
your own
what?
head, but then you'd lose organ value. You'd lose.
Oh,
You'd undermine
cartoons.
organ
No,
value. When you do an organ value cartoon.
All right.
So there's a good internationalist basis for support Trump. Child trafficking has been a high priority in his administration. Child trafficking, international wars, and global peace. I mean, these are no new wars, global peace, child trafficking.
sort of
These
taking-
three we can all get behind.
Basic trend to get troops
Three
out
topics.
of places, wasn't there, rather than putting troops in places.
Forget the rejuvenation.
What do you think about all this? Like,
Who?
I mean, I know she's, anti-establishment in the same way that you are, but surely she's not voting.
Oh, Rose has been hammering on the Bidens. Rose has been hammering on the incestuous, paedophilic Biden crime family for the past few
I know
weeks on
she
Twitter.
does, but who's
She-
she voting?
Yeah.
She's in Mexico now. She's applying to be a permanent resident in Mexico. She's absenting herself.
Oh.
She's absenting herself from it. She's moved off from Hollywood.
Abstaining.
Yeah, she's absenting herself. She's in
And
Mexico.
abstaining.
Yeah, she's absenting herself. I'm not
Oh.
going to speak. I'm not going to speak to my friend. But
No, I know.
her main campaign in the past few weeks has been against, and I highly support this, against the Biden crime family on the basis of their exploitation of their own women in their own family by testimony. It's a matter of public record that Hunter Biden was sleeping with his sister-in-law during and after the death of his brother. And now we've seen there are very serious allegations that he's been having sex with his niece, his dead brother's daughter, and also Joe Biden's daughter, Hunter Biden's half-sister, left a diary of hers in a house she rented. And in the diary, it speaks of her sex addiction and drug addiction on the basis of her being abused by Joe Biden, her father. Handwritten diaries. Yeah, so this is like a Targaryen kind of Lannister family.
What sources? Where's this coming from? Sorry.
So Biden's daughter. Look up Biden's daughter diary. So this is an incest dynasty, like the Lannisters or the Targaryens. This is
I
the.
feel like this would be bigger news, Lorenzo.
This is huge news. This is huge news.
The
You
Jewish,
just haven't
the
been
Jewish Voice, is that a good source?
Yeah, is the Jewish Voice a good source? Yeah, it's just got it's pictures. All we need is like it's a handwritten diary. There's pictures of a handwritten diary by Natalie. No, Natalie Biden's the granddaughter. I can't remember the name of the daughter. Biden daughter inappropriate showers is the. Essentially Biden's daughter was traumatized by inappropriate sexual contact with her father, Joe Biden, and was writing a diary about her sex and drug addiction going through therapy, and left it in a house she was renting. Here we go.
Hypersexualized at a young age. What is this due to? Was I molested? I think so. I can't remember specifics. I mean, I'm just reading. Hang on.
Okay, just find the thing, and
I
then
will look. We don't need to talk about this now. I will check your sources
Yeah.
later. But given that you frequently post shit from the Daily Star, Ramsay, I'm not going to just accept what you're saying as though it were.
no, don't. Everything needs to be fact checked, as Joe Rogan has shown us. Everything needs to be fact checked, so we can fact check. I'm not telling falsehoods in the same way that Alex Jones isn't telling falsehoods. It's all there. There are
Who
sources.
checks the facts? The fact checker checks.
Quis custodiet ipsos custodes. Who watches the watchers? That's the big problem of that blockchain looks to solve.
How many facts can a fact checker check if a fact checker can check facts?
Was like Facebook fact checker.
Oh yeah, what
Great,
you do?
thanks.
What
I'm glad you're checking
Go
the
into
facts
your-
for us, so we don't need to check them ourselves.
go into your block list. If you go into your block list on your Facebook profile and you type in, there's a little search box and you type in fact checker, you'll find lots of fact checking profiles that are called fact checker. If you block those, then they won't be able to see what you're doing. There's like hundreds of profiles. If you just do search for fact checker in the block profiles
I
search
didn't use
box.
Facebook enough to bother, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, who uses Facebook anyway? It's like it's a walled
I
garden.
stopped using Facebook long ago.
It's a walled garden of manure. It's like full.
Feces,
Yes.
What's- Who are these people queuing outside?
Who are we? They here to vote.
Maybe
We are a polling
someone-
station.
Someone up a sesame tree.
Ed,
Is it-
I'll leave you in the capable hands of Ed and Oliver for one moment. I just need to.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe just adjust the camera for a second. We got Oliver.
All
on
right,
the shot.
let's hang on a sec.
Sorry, Ed.
Let's do.
Oh yeah, I'll do a song. All right.
Okay, what do you want to
So
sing?
I might as well do my new Solo Mio, which is the most
Oh,
easy.
sorry, me. Yeah,
Because I got a new rockin' out. Yeah, I got a new version.
Okay, ladies and gents, get ready for.
How loud is that? How's that being called? Is that like just that?
Yeah.
Let's change that microphone.
So I stand up.
If you sit down, but
All right.
With the real, what's that rapper called? Stand
Che
up.
bella cosa un'arionata e sola, Nuria serena, dopo una tempesta, per l'aria fresca, argiana festa. Che bella cosa una sei sola, manando sola, più bella in oh sola mia, stan fronte a te. Oh sola mia, stanno fronte a te, stanno fronte a te. And now there's all I needed someone to dance with right now, because there's a little instrumental, which is part of my new album, Rockin' Arias 2.
I'm going to get a cornetto out of the freezer, but I've only got magnets.
Yeah, this was made famous by Luciano Pavarotti, who had perhaps more than one cornetto. You get it? This is kind of a standard, yeah. It's been it's not out of copyright, funny enough. Not out of copyright, still in copyright, because a very, very young man worked on it in the 19th century who died not very long ago. Behold the sunlight in all its splendor, Forgotten is the storm, the clouds now banish, the freshening breezes, heavy airs now banish. Behold the brilliant sun in all its splendor. A sun I know of, that brighter still. This sun, my dear one, is not but thee. My face so fair to see shall now, my son, forever be. Grazie, grazie. That's from my new album, Rockin' Arias 2, which is in progress.
Where's the album available, Ed? Where can we get hold of it?
The all usual iTunes and Spotify.
So you can get the album on iTunes and Spotify, and it's called
Rockin' Arias 2.
Rockin' Arias 2
Rockin' Arias
by Ed
2.
Mertzer.
You heard it first here.
And you can, oh, right, okay. And who have you been collaborating with on that?
Just various musicians. A guy called Stuart, the great guitarist. Stuart, I forget his surname, but next time I will let you know what that is.
What is it about Italian classics that floats your boat?
I think
they're inherent good songs. Or what is it? That
There's something about the sort of romantic. It's all romantic repertoire. Right? From competitions they had every year to create songs in Naples, and O Sole Mio came from that, because Naples was the central music conservatory in the whole world during that time.
Okay.
And they used to have a competition every year, and O Sole Mio was born from that competition, along with many others.
What's the Sole Mio mean?
It's really just an allegory about comparing your lover to a son, the sun.
Is it Oh My Son?
Oh my son.
That's O Sole Mio.
Where have you been? You look very chic, and I like that sort of polo neck with the bare shoulders there.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? I mean, I just cut it. It's just a cut-up job.
You did it.
It is, yeah, because I didn't buy, because there was a really great advert for a Wolford top with Scully. What's her name? You know.
Mulder and Scully.
Mulder and Scully. What's the actor's name?
Liam.
David
Anyway.
Duchovny.
No, I don't know.
Looking at
David
the
Duchovny.
sensation after playing the sexiest mum ever in sex education, but she was doing a Wolford advert. And yeah, it's basically a top that's like a polo neck with cut out things. So I just had a polo neck I was bored of, so I just snipped it. I like it.
Are you a
Quite the
singer?
actual thing, but for now,
What?
the cheaper hippie version.
So is it locked down now where you are?
Yes, it is as of yesterday.
Yeah. And what does that mean?
It means there's no sports clubs, sports centres, bars, restaurants. Everything else is open as normal. There's not really that many restrictions. I think you're not supposed to have too many people indoors at once.
I see, yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's okay. They're just managing it well at the right time, as far as I can see. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, it's abundantly clear the clusterfuck that is the UK from over here.
Really? Why? Why?
It's really shocking.
Why? Why is it a clusterfuck here?
Just the total lack of information and systems and how long it takes to get tested, and it's just completely different here. Like, I went home to see my family thinking, oh, that's great, I'll arrive, I'll have a test, I'll know what the score is in a couple of days, I'll be able to see my mum. Could I fuck? No. went home, you don't get a test. And this is the thing that people aren't realizing, is they're like, oh, it's got to take these measures. It's like, well, none of this would be necessary if the fucking processes worked. But because there's been fuck all money gone into anything and they haven't prepared anything properly, it's taking, 2 weeks to get a test result back. And during that time, you're supposed to isolate, not go anywhere, not see anyone, and then volunteer your information so that they can give you a £10,000 fine if you choose to go anywhere else. I mean, who's going to do that?
Yeah, no one's going to do that. So it's not exactly.
It's not working. It's totally fucked.
Yeah, everyone's terrified.
It actually works. So if I have a COVID test, I can get the result back in 24 hours, which is kind of useful. So that I'm less worried about shit. I mean, obviously, I know you're all a bunch of anti-maskers as well. So
a bunch of what? A bunch of what? What did you say?
Anti-maskers. I don't know.
Oh. Well,
I mean, a lot of people
quite...
I don't know. I think Lorenzo is. So I'm a Gemini, so I tend to hold everything as truth and non-truth simultaneously, and I think it's the only way to, go. But given that it might be a pandemic, I'm happy to wear a mask sometimes. But I do wish that. Yeah,
well, it sort of defines part of the purpose of being human. It's not obviously intuitively one doesn't want to be wearing a mask, but yeah, when you see an elderly person getting on a bus, then obviously, because we don't know the facts, and that's my view anyway.
I mean, to be honest, for me over here, I'm not that fussed because I'm nowhere near my mum. Everyone I live with is quite young, so I mean, I'm not a spring chicken, but I think I'll probably be alright. I'm pretty healthy,
Yeah.
But when it comes to being friends or family that are vulnerable, I don't really want to take risks. You know what I mean? But it's actually just to me to compare how things are here with how they are in the UK is shocking, fucking annoying, and the measures being as harsh as they are and as stupid as they are, and the information making as little sense as it does. I mean, even on the same page in the website, when I tried to sort of find out about getting a corona test when I got home, it has, if you're in, the north or southeast of England, you have to have your test within 5 days, 6 days is too late, or no, sorry, within 8 days. Before or after is too early or too late. And then on the same page, it says, but if you're in Wales or Northern Ireland, then you have to have it within 5 days because 6 is too, you know what I mean? It's just totally contrary information on the same page, which is just, I mean, it's just nonsense, all of it. And, no one takes any of it seriously. And so no one is doing any of the things that they could be doing because the system doesn't fucking work, which just means that everyone has to stay in lockdown for longer and have less, Anyway, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, I suppose everyone's
we all know the situation. My only point was just it's weird because I'm here and it's really different here.
It's really different.
Everything, Germans are nothing if not fucking efficient, and it's just incredibly efficient.
Well, I think that's cool. I think that's probably the main
there's
difference.
A lot less. I feel much safer here, and there's a lot less to worry about. I
think that's probably the main difference that people, here in England, we're just sort of such sort of bunch of. They're so different. Everyone's so different that I think there's just so many different kinds of people here that it creates a just completely different milieu in a way. Well, it's partly that, I'm sure.
It does. I think that's partly that, but there is a huge anti-movement here as well. But I think it's partly sort of British A, punkist attitude, and B, elitist attitude. Like those are the two kind of, different sides of the same British coin, if you like, that are in play there. And that has something to do with it. But mainly, people like to follow instruction. People are fucking useless. Even when measures are taken, like people don't use their initiatives. There's those businesses that'll do one thing, but then they're not doing another thing, which they should be doing because it hasn't been specifically directed, and therefore they haven't thought about it themselves. Because, people like to follow orders. Most people don't like thinking and can't anyway, and like to follow orders. And that's why it really helps in a crisis if your government is capable of actually issuing clear and useful orders. You know, like, it's really the only thing you need to do in a crisis. Like, whether, I don't know, and it just, the British government has failed astronomically to do so. And therefore, nobody knows where they're coming or going. None of the things that they have directed are of any use. Then they contradict them. So it's like, it's pointless. You may as well not have a fucking government. But that's the thing. But even if there wasn't, you'd be using your initiative more. You'd be going, oh, there's no rules, so I'll have to protect myself. You know, rather like driving in India. You know, actually, it's kind of safe in the end because you just assume everyone's trying to kill you. But you don't even have that. You just, you know, there's sort of people like, oh, there are rules. We don't really understand them, but like, we still don't need to think for ourselves because there are some rules. I mean, it's nonsense. So yeah, I think that does play into the general national personality of people. Whereas here, people do like rules. They like rules and they like structure, but they also, you know, won't suffer fools gladly either. They're not blind, and you know, I don't know. People will follow rules if they make sense, which they do. Yeah, that's my impression anyway. As
it's interesting.
English woman abroad.
Perspective of another country, an eye view of a native on our country from Germany. Yeah, but from my point of view, I mean, I just consider it to be an impossible situation for everyone concerned. But I'm sure it's just really damn difficult.
For everyone concerned.
What?
I said it is. It's a ridiculous situation.
I don't think it's not like suggesting that there is actually probably a correct way to do it. Actually, I think it's a bit like, you know, no matter what you do, the only way out is there's going to be some damage. You know what I mean? They're trying to tread a middle path, right? Aren't they? I think so. They're just trying to tread this middle path, and they're trying to think about politics and who's going to vote for them as well. And I think they're just going to get.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And that, you know, they're just going to get flack from every side, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I would disagree with you there, and that for my opinion, there's a government. You know, they don't really care about treading the. What they're really concerned with is pushing through as much illegal shit as possible, whilst they can get away with it, and that's what they're actually focused on. And whilst they're busy thinking about those things and being focused on those things, they're not really considering or putting the time or effort in to work out how they could be managing this fucking crisis better. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're there for us, Ed.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, they might be there for you. I don't know. Maybe they are.
I think I think they all mean well in their own way, but I just don't think they necessarily have all the information they need to really look out for people in general. That's my view, anyway. So I don't actually go either way, to be honest. I just watch. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah. But I mean, as far as the whole COVID thing is concerned, I'm not an anti-masker, but I'm also quite aware that, you know, there is a great possibility that, you know, it could be the new world order.
Is that the sort of way you think about it then? That it's deliberately engineered to create a sort of soft ground for some sort of social credit situation?
I don't think that, but I'm open to it as a possibility, yeah. But, I mean, I think everyone should be, you know? I mean, in a world where there are no facts and never will be ever again anything other than shades of untruth, it's important to consider all things to be potentially true.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's the best that we can do, I think.
I mean, I was thinking about that.
So try not to, you know, make decisions based on things as though they were facts, and try not to have bias against people and ideas as though you had facts, because you don't and you never will.
I mean, I was thinking about this social credit and total transparency. It's a bit like a sort of one mind sort of thing, where, you know, this idea that in primitive culture, everyone didn't have individual consciousness. Everyone thought one thought. It's like that. You can't do anything without everyone else knowing about it. It's like big mind, isn't it, in a way? You know what I mean? But obviously, it's not good. I mean, it's not good if you do something and then you can't get on an airplane or you can't go and buy something, stuff like that. It's ridiculous. And they also have these little people going around sort of making judgments and messing up people's social credit records, don't they? I mean, what if they do it on purpose and do you down kind of thing? I suppose that will affect their social credit as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We're talking like China's coming in. We're all gonna be agents within the system.
Yeah. Do you know what I watched last night for the first time? And I was actually pleasantly surprised. So my house, where I live in London, my London pad, this is my Berlin pad, called London pad. My warehouse in London, they shot a film called Ready Player One there. And actually, they shot quite a lot of it there. Unfortunately, I was in India at the time. But basically, they hired out all of our courtyard and road, and everyone got paid lots of money to not be in their house. And my bedroom is featured in a Hollywood movie. And apparently, yes, everyone on the road was like working as runners on the film, and everyone in the world met Steven Spielberg, apart from me, because I was in India. And but anyway, I watched the film last night. It's actually very interesting. Has anyone seen that? Ready Player One?
Yeah, it's really like it's all Back to the Future, and it's all what's it called? Old-fashioned stuff from what's the word for it when you get
retro references.
Yeah.
Full of references. Yeah, I thought it was great actually.
Yeah, it was.
I really
fun.
enjoyed it. I'd heard it was really shit, and I think that's not correct. I think it was actually a really brilliant film.
Yeah, it was a good Steven Spielberg adventure, wasn't it? Yeah.
And I think it was quite an interesting projection into the future.
Yeah, because
what could lay ahead and what the pitfalls would be if that did lay ahead.
Yeah, it had that kind of classic story thing of whatever the peripheries are.
Attempt to, override things and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't. It's kind of like the moral was. It doesn't really matter what's going on in the world. It's all about human interactions at the end. Because they're in that digital world where everything's like nonsense essentially. Everyone's in the rat race in the digital world, and then there's the but the real thing that matters is the humans on the outside.
Yeah, but even like the opening kind of I don't know, when was it released? A few years ago, but the sort of opening paragraph, sort of prologue bit talks about how I think in the year 2025 or something, everyone, what does it say? I don't know. Basically, that this is the time to make a difference and just try to survive. And it was quite, an extremely bleak future was the basis of this entire film. Like the extremely bleak future was just assumed we were already there and this was happening. But yeah, it's kind of interesting because things are moving that way.
Yeah, it's like I think it's a symptom of getting older, personally, that because I'm sure as a child things were happening and my parents would be going, oh, the bloody news, whatever. Now I'm the person going, oh, the bloody news. And I know my nephews don't know what's going on.
No. The world's fucked, mate. Honestly. Way more fucked than it's ever been before.
Oh, okay.
Really?
It's not just getting older.
All right.
Definitely getting worse.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, which is worse? Which would be worse, getting older or the world being more fucked?
No, the gig is utterly fucked.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
News bulletin. The gig is fucked.
Game over.
No, I remember my mum sort of saying, she wasn't going to have children because she was kind of like, I don't want to bring children as well, blah, blah, blah. And, my dad made her eventually by sort of going, oh, they might grow up and win the Nobel Prize. And, but she was sort of all, we grew up under the, shadow of the mushroom cloud and blah, blah, blah. And, so things were pretty fucked then.
What about...
But even she was tested that they are fundamentally more fucked than ever.
God.
And irreparably so, it would seem. But
well, thanks a lot for raising my spirits.
all right, thought I'd cheer everyone up.
Yeah.
Hi, it's the 3rd of November. It's the beginning of apocalypse, everybody.
So,
In fact, I'm going to open a bottle of... It's Carver, actually, but I'm going to open a bottle of champagne.
Okay. We should have another song. Do you want to do another song
Have
there?
a celebratory drink.
Yeah,
There's still a world to celebrate.
What are you on camera? What was I going to say? Oh yeah, the shadow of the mushroom cloud. Well, that's we haven't had any more wars since then because of that. Because we haven't had any because of the
Yeah, the
imminent
mutually
threat.
assured destruction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't had sort of same kind of wars, have we? It's reduced.
No, it's all been static and proxy wars, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's what Winston Churchill predicted, that this could be something that would promote world peace. The nuclear bomb, the ultimate destructive weapon.
Yeah. So I mean, that's it's better to have. Yes, I'd prefer. Well, would you prefer the risk of fiery death and nuclear winter, or would you?
That
prefer...
is a good idea, but that only works if the people with their finger on the button aren't stupid.
But
I'll just leave you with that for a while whilst I go get my bottle down.
Wait, do the Russians even have any nukes, or is it all just propaganda to get funding for rocket scientists? In the way that COVID's just a way for is propaganda to get funding for government-paid epidemiologists. Was the Cold War just an exercise in getting funding for rocket scientists paid by the government?
Well,
you get your mate in the MI5 to produce a bit of intelligence that the Russians have got this technology now, and then you say, now that means, Mr. Government, I need X million pounds to develop this type of rocket booster.
Yeah.
Because Russia, someone was saying yesterday, the GDP is the same as Portugal, not even as good as Portugal. I mean, and that's capitalist Russia. So centralized communist Russia must have been, they can't have been as rich as, because
Who's speaking off camera? I want to meet him. Who is that?
Oh, can't you see? Can't you see?
No.
No, I can't see. He's off camera.
Well, where am I then? Which camera are we looking at?
We're looking at this one.
No, you're
down in the left-hand corner.
Outside of my screen.
Can't we change it so that you're in the picture?
Well, I'm going to keep myself mysterious.
What?
You're going to have to paint a picture in your mind.
All right then. Yeah, fuck it. I should have done that.
I thought we were looking at that.
You've shown your hand.
Why don't you? Why if I shift up here, you can come here.
I want to keep my identity a secret.
Oh, all right then. Yeah, you have so far.
It's not who you are either.
No need to ruin it
Well,
now.
it's really nice to meet you, Mr. Mysterious.
Well, as it was for you. No, for me. Yeah. Well,
So they haven't got any
oh God, I wish
bombs.
someone was here to open them.
Is Ish coming?
I dropped this bottle on the train the other day.
You bought it?
Well.
So it's going to fizz up and squirt all
No.
around.
It's going to be really bad.
you want to hold the forehead?
Maybe I should open
I
it.
thought we were going to the countdown and state by state.
Oh well, I mean, nobody's voted yet.
Oh, no one's voted, yeah.
It's not like Comic Relief.
No,
or
no,
Save the Children.
Late.
Oh bloody hell! What's up, Ish? What's new?
What's new?
Yeah, was it top secret?
I was just doing a campaign to decriminalise art.
Which camera is that? I thought we were looking at that.
Decriminalise.
I thought that was us for a minute. I thought that was like, oh no, that's our bare studio. Sorry, you're doing what?
Campaign to decriminalise art.
Ah, okay. What do you mean?
Art's illegal?
Copyright now.
Oh, okay. So everyone can use
Any art they wish.
for anything. All right.
I would probably prefer
That's,
those, but-
you want to get rid of copyright?
Decriminalise it,
Decriminalise it.
much like the cannabis.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
It
okay.
can be taken to court.
Oh, that's lucky.
Be put up against its judge,
That.
but you can't be arrested.
Why don't you announce what you're doing?
It's a non-arrestable offence. We won't make it.
Oh, so you can be arrested currently for using copyright. Oh, right. Yeah.
Cheers all.
Get it done.
Yeah, cheers, cheers.
Nice to meet you,
The
Laura.
last day of
Cheers. Oh, no, where's the...
the apocalypse.
Worthwhile cause, I would say.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know about you, but we've been going for 2.5 hours and I've got to go to work tomorrow.
Oh,
Do you want to sing us out, Ed?
All right, yeah.
Let's do one more song.
All right, I'll do another song.
Yeah.
It's always good
What happened
practice,
to
isn't it?
Lorenzo?
I don't know. He got caught up with some sort of drug dealers or something.
Lorenzo's
No, I
got
didn't
more
say- no,
important
he didn't,
things to
no.
do than talk to you all night. Gordon Bennett.
I thought we were going
Did you
on.
say, are you wrapping up? How long does this normally go on for? I have to say, I don't normally stay in tuned in this
It
long.
goes as long as it goes for.
What, you mean you haven't been glued to every single episode?
No, I kind of tune in and go, what the earth are you talking about this time? And then I turn it off.
Well, I think you can guess. It's Bitcoin. Bitcoin.
It's
right?
normally a bit Bitcoin.
No, it's sometimes no, I do. I listen,
It's
I
a
listen to it. I
bitter
tune in and out.
coin to swallow. Sorry, what's that?
I said I tune in and out of it sometimes. But
So I tune in and out
Small part one
while I'm listening. While I'm listening.
Oh, very nice.
Tune in and out. I go in and out, wafting out of my inner thoughts. What?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, so basically, and
Oh, no. Why?
okay.
Oh, holy night. Are you going to do the stars are brightly shining? It is the night of our dear Saviour's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, for he appeared and the soul saw its worth. The sin of us, the weedy world rejoicing, the conversation, a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees. Come on. Oh, hear the angel voices on night divine, on night when Christ was born. Come on, Lorenzo. Oh, night. Oh, night divine, oh, night when Christ was born. Wait, what about your new lyrics?
We need to find it. Like find some paintings.
Lorenzo has some new lyrics. Like,
No, I didn't know where they are.
well, I got them.
How you found them?
Oh shit. Okay, well, that was like kind of you heard it here first, the first version of that, because I don't actually have the lyrics. I don't
I
have the
saw them. They were quite funny. What were them?
lyrics.
Yeah, we can do it.
Well, if you care to hang around, Lorenzo and I will do Lorenzo new lyrics.
Well, yeah, later.
Well, okay, well that's enough of that one for now, I think, because I don't know the rest of the lyrics.
This is
Love, hope of a new and glorious morn. Christ is the Lord. Oh, praise His name forever. Oh, praise forever. Oh, praise His holy name. Oh, praise forever. Oh, praise His holy name. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Bravo.
Oh, it's still there. I thought it was just like this little name now. No more Lauren. Because I was already with that, but
Well, ladies and gents, I think we've got. I'll just read out the last comments, and then I'm going to.
Well, at least why don't you come on? Why don't you come on here and do it?
Well, we're here. We're on this camera. We're both
Yeah,
here.
but only because
No, I'm top secret. I
sensitive.
don't want Lauren to know who I am.
You just want to see how handsome he is.
That's not fair. You know
Because he
who I
might.
am.
He'll want to give you a sleepless
We know
night
each
with
other, have we actually
with
met?
handsomeness. What? Huh? What?
I'm saying, do we know each other? Have we actually met?
No, and now's the time. Oliver.
No, this is the
Oliver's like the driving force behind this whole operation, and without him,
I don't think I
there'd
have
be
met
nothing.
Oliver,
Sorry.
no.
Well, I'm gonna
this
allow
is
you to
this
fill in
new-
the gaps.
This new reality of people.
Who's the guy with the big nose who tells poems behind the bush?
Okay.
Yeah, he's the French
You've got a
poet who
very
tells.
good radio voice, Oliver.
Oh, thank you very much.
Lorenzo,
no.
Lorenzo, that was our big
Who's the guy?
chance to
Yeah,
do
we-
it.
Who's the guy with the big nose who tells poems behind the bush to the other person, and then he tells them to the girl in the window? Big nose, French.
Cyrano de Bergerac.
That's
Jean, oh,
Oh, it's Savannah
yeah. Of
Pleasure.
course, yeah.
Yeah.
Writing love letters, yeah.
I've
Why
got
don't we
really,
have
basically,
this
all I'm trying to say
camera?
is I've got a really big nose. Like Sacha Baron Cohen, like Sacha Baron Cohen when he's dressed as a Jew.
Okay. What do you think of Sacha Baron Cohen's new film? Not funny, is it?
I've seen.
lost
I
it.
saw the
He's
bit
lost it.
he
He's
did
lost
with. I saw the bit he did
Lost
with
it.
Giuliani, where they were trying to discredit the Hunter
What?
Biden
She
tapes.
put big balloons up her jumper and said, "Let's go in the bedroom."
And he was
And
he was
like-
taking off his microphone, and he leaned back on the bed to take off his radio mic, and they said that somehow he was molesting the actress.
If he really wanted to catch out Giuliani, we should have waited a bit longer. But whatever it was, I'm not sure. Is he married or what? I don't know.
Giuliani, he's just a very clever guy. He's just like really on point. And he just said, "I'm done with this interview. I'm going to take the radio mic off." And he leant back on the bed to tuck his shirt in. And they took these photos as if he was like molesting the woman.
But I
And
think
this
it's
is all-
a bit ridiculous. She had these balloons up. I saw the film and it wasn't as funny as like the last one, unless I've grown out of Sacha Baron Cohen.
Well, it's
But I would've
as we were discussing with Laura and I were discussing with the new spitting image. Like,
Not
it doesn't
funny,
reach
not
the
funny.
level of satire. It's
It's banned now.
Sacha Baron Cohen, hang on, well.
About Sacha Baron Cohen's new film not being
so
funny.
actually the new Sacha Baron Cohen is the new Borat is the best example of our 9.95 originality quotient, because also if you see with the spitting image, it like doesn't reach satire. It doesn't elevate itself.
Yeah,
It's kind of at parody.
I
It's stuck at parody.
Also, I can't unremember the first sketch about Donald Trump and Melania in bed and his a-hole like writing in the. It was horrible.
It doesn't
was just
elevate
not funny
itself
at all.
to
Did you see
satire.
that?
The spitting image, it was always horrible. That was what was nice.
It
They
was
had to find
actually
something,
it was funny
like how
before.
on earth we're going to do Trump.
Some of it was very funny. What
But
was
this is what we're really looking at with the New Athens School of Art, is this notion of does it satire is like a grand narrative. It's got to have this bite, but actually parody sits below that level. And parody is
Have you seen Who is America though? Have you seen it?
what?
yeah, with the guy with the state senator who has his ass out and he says attack with your ass because they're homophobic. That was quite funny. That was legitimately funny with the Krav Maga class.
Brilliant, but it's not even. It's kind of beyond funny. It's not really even satire. It's not really even comedy anymore. It's just absolute genius art, and it's his life's work. And
Who? What?
This is
it's
America. It was his.
astounding. It's an
Oh, that
astounding
was quite amusing in
television
places. Yeah.
that just. I thought it was absolutely breathtaking.
We've
And
got
yet-
in frame. We've now got a bottle of wine. Lauren, we've now framed you with the golden bow in the top left, and then in the bottom right there's a bottle of wine that's intruding into the
I
frame.
didn't even know that. Like,
Are you not on the YouTube?
Can I see
Are you
what
not
I'm
on the
doing?
YouTube?
For all the sort of
No,
Germanic
I'm
kind
on
of.
Zoom. How do I get on?
No, don't do that. That's
Go to YouTube.
no, you go separate. Turn the camera back. I'll go separately to YouTube.
the bottle of wine.
Hang on. Is the camera on now? Has it gone
No. I've asked you to start video. Then you'll see
Oh,
what.
so I have to stay on Zoom, otherwise it doesn't.
No,
otherwise
just
as soon as
open
I
a
go
different
somewhere else,
tab or on a different
it doesn't-
device.
Just,
I've only got one device.
A different tab. I don't know. There's
that's
like
a good angle. It's a good angle.
it's a good angle.
Good angle.
No,
Yeah.
I can't see it. I had it open. I had it open the entire time.
Oh, okay. There we go. Now we've got you
yeah.
and the.
If I try to navigate to another tab, it just disappears. Then.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it.
Well, I can show you.
Can you,
What
can
about
you
my
screenshot
latest
it?
cartoon?
Yeah, I can.
No,
I've
I
done
don't
several
either, 'cause I was
cartoons.
focused on your Zoom.
Yeah.
Have I been?
Oh,
You've been the star of the show. No, you've been the star of the show.
yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. Our muse.
I have to see with Ed at Christmas. I'm going to try and come home for Christmas
Great.
because I think
What should I?
yeah,
I
hopefully
can't
once I get my
Facebook
residency
you.
here,
What's
I'll
that?
be able to
email.
get repatriated back here again. So but yeah, you know my Christmas dress, Lorenzo. Well, I've got some amazing heels to go with it now, and
Oh,
I want to
fantastic.
sing with Ed in my Christmas dress and heels. So that'll be worth tuning
We can
in
do
for,
a
isn't it?
terzetto. We can do a terzetto trio.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Um,
I've got my latest cartoon coming up. It's a big moment
They're
now.
fabulous.
Biden.
Oh, the Biden moment.
Biden.
Biden your time.
I've got.
You've
I've
been
got
Biden your
the
time.
latest sort of cartoon. What's it?
Actual time.
Oh no, email it to
Can I WhatsApp to her? And
Look,
Lorenzo?
look at the heels.
Oh, very nice.
Oh yeah, what's up?
Oh my
whatever.
God, Lorenzo's
The
going
heels and the
nuts
Christmas
thinking
dress.
about
Mm.
anticipation.
Something you always do.
Let's send email it. To
Email. Or WhatsApp?
email because WhatsApp not fuck something up on here.
What we're doing, ladies and gents, is we're going to put Ed's latest cartoon. Ed's
So
an
Ed's been
artist.
doing satirical cartoons of the moment. We've been
Which email address? That one?
Lorenzo
Oh,
at
yeah.
medset.org.
What,
Lorenzo
tonight?
at
That's what you're
medset.org.
thinking of.
Ed's drawn a cartoon, and we're
Ed's
going to
doing
show
like-
it momentarily.
Ed's doing,
I've got several
uh,
cartoons.
Ed's doing satirical kind of Gilray, Hogarthian cartoons of the moment, which we've been looking to do for a while because it's like bringing art like into.
And also, I've been doing nothing but music recently. I got.
Great.
So it's good to sort of do.
So you can find it in here.
Can I plug something while I'm here?
Yeah, go on.
No,
So you know the
That's it.
Sex Robots Fire Festival?
there's a method.org.
What's that?
Shenanigans.
The Fire Festival.
The Raspberry Dream Lab stuff.
Oh,
They just released the video of the Man event that we hosted, which was really great actually in the end.
Was that a VR thing? You on the
Yeah,
Wi-Fi?
so I was kind of hosting it from Berlin and they were
You got
hosting it in London. And the whole thing happened in VR architecture. It was really good. But they just released the video from it. So I'm going to post it on here, but it's fun. It's good.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
it's all going quite well.
So,
Just as we were talking about VR and things that are disappearing into real time, for me, I think it was very exciting to be hosted in VR and actually be performing live in VR.
Yeah,
in
what
a
are you
club,
doing out there?
in an architecture? Heck,
So is that what you're doing right now? VR.
it's not what I'm doing right. Well, I've been involved in a few different VR projects actually.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, this is kind of I'm part of the collective. There's 6 of us.
okay, so now we can see Ed's newest cartoon of the Biden's last moment in the sun. Read it out for us.
All my experience of cooking the book should have prepared me for this.
And we're looking at 100 fedora recipes.
Let's have a look.
It's on the screen now. We have this is a very
I can't see.
see it.
we'll send it to you. We'll send it to you in a minute. Don't move from there.
Why can't Lauren see it?
We'll send it to you. I'll send it to you in a second. So
We're going to describe my cartoon.
yeah. So it's Biden in an armchair, reading from his own book of cooking the books.
Fedora.
You've got to
eat his.
He's got to eat his hat. Yes, he's got to eat his hat. So it's a very lovely, very warm, lovely drawing of a very dark man, like your drawing of our friend Martin Rosen, which I have on my mantle.
You got it.
Yeah, I've got it.
You got it on your mantle.
So we met Martin Rosen, the cartoonist from the Guardian. Ed did a really lovely portrait of Martin Rosen,
Very
really
flattering painting.
warm, like avuncular, big-eyed portrait. And then he did these you've seen these really horrible caricatures of us.
Yeah, it was really gratuitous,
shit.
wasn't it? It was grotesquely gratuitous.
Yes, it was horrible. It made you look like an Egyptian. It made me look like, you know.
There's nothing wrong. I mean, it made me look like the baddie in a Disney movie.
Um,
Which is not how I envisage myself. It's not.
so yes, Ed's participating in the satirical the satirical moment.
What do you think about the other ones? Like Biden, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. Bidenly.
Send us that one in the gallery. Is it also in the email? Let's have a look.
What?
Tissue.
We all locked down with Merkel. Did you see it? You didn't see it?
I've seen some of these, but I'm preserving my innocence so we can see them again. And so here we have. I particularly liked this one actually. So if we show the screen, there we go. So yes, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes Bidenly.
Well, I mean, because it often rhymes badly.
Yes.
Sort of deriving it from that.
Yes, his spoonerisms that we've heard so many of in recent weeks.
Good one. The good one. The Daily Mail's headline for the last hour has been, "This is my son, Beau, who a lot of you helped elect to the Senate in Delaware. Joe Biden makes his worst gaffe yet by introducing his granddaughter as his dead son, and could be the president in hours."
So the Guardian US reports US election Trump versus Biden live, first polls closed in Indiana and Kentucky.
And?
So let's see what is going on here. And here's Trump being
happened to his hair?
Speechifying. Donald Trump echoed the optimistic tone coming from his re-election campaign, claiming in a new tweet that he is looking really good all over the country. We are looking really good all over the country. Thank you!
Familiar.
Exclamation point.
What's that?
What's on the screen right now?
Someone who's been
Despite Donald Trump's worrying polling numbers going into tonight, but we've seen what the betting numbers are, the president's re-election campaign sounded an optimistic note in a call with reporters tonight. Quote, "We feel very, very good about our ground game," said Jason Miller. "We feel very good about where we're turning out." Blah, blah, blah. Again, we've got like a whole load of kind of nothing burgers. Nobody's willing to make a statement. The final countdown election results tonight, says the Breitbart. Could deplorables do it again? Photo essay, epic rallies across America. And watch, Chelsea Handler goes topless to warn Michigan of voter. That's an interesting headline.
That's not interesting.
Okay, so watch.
She's not topless. She's got
have you got
tassels
what's
on
on the screen right now? Have you got the?
Yeah, we're on your screen. Yeah.
Okay, so watch Chelsea Handler goes topless to warn Michigan of voter intimidation. Although it was missed out from the headline. Comedian Chelsea Handler has gone topless in a social media video to draw attention to potential voter intimidation in Michigan on election day. Is that 10% different from how she looks clothed? That's the question. Is it satire or is it just parody? Voters could face people carrying guns at polling locations, or in this case, tits.
She's not really topless because she's got nipple tassels on.
And well, maybe that's due to censorship. She knows she's going to be censored. What does the Drudge Report say? The Drudge Report says first exit polls developing.
Is this Philip Drudgeon?
Drudge Report.
Oh, okay.
The aggregation site. No, Philip actually made a film this morning. Polling live updates: COVID-19, economy, and healthcare. Oh, this is just talking about issues. They're not actually giving any statements about who's won. What does the Huffington Post say? The Huffington Post says America meets its fate. Democracy on the line. Live updates. Now we have some counts, but everything was 0%. Are you
I'm going to
bounce? Okay, it's been great to have Ish. She's Tesla powered. All right,
bye. Ciao. Good to see you. Well, what were the guys doing here? The guys that were out there? Were they?
One was Bitcoin man. They talk about Bitcoin, I think.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seems to talk about Bitcoin these days.
You're quite an expert on Bitcoin, aren't you?
I bought 100 quid's worth of Bitcoin yesterday. as it equals to 0.01 Bitcoin.
So there are two aspects to Bitcoin. There's a speculative aspect, that's people trying to make money out of it, and there's the fact that it can sort of help people in third world countries and things like that, right? Because people obviously, it's more of a reliable sort of way of making transactions.
Well, I think as a means of exchange, it's highly inefficient. As a means of wealth storage, it makes sense, but as a means of exchange, it's highly inefficient.
Why is it inefficient? I thought it was more efficient.
Because it's distributed. Everybody has to be updated. So if I give you a Bitcoin,
takes too much energy keeping everyone updated.
Yeah, it's because it's decentralized.
Yeah, so
it's not just going through one exchange.
It takes tons of processing power.
Yeah, it means that everybody's computer's got to be updated with your transaction, rather than just the central exchange being updated with the.
There's someone trying to.
Be all right. I'm not really. Let's see. Hello, Andrew. Are you watching? Oh, I missed it.
What was that? He rang up just for the privilege of hanging up on you.
That's right. Well, yeah. That's that kind of guy. Well. Yeah. So
it doesn't work basically.
What does? Well, it's it's horses for courses. You wouldn't use a tractor to drive down the motorway. Do you know what I mean? But you wouldn't use a Ferrari to plough a field. Same kind of thing. It's an engine on wheels, but they're good for different things.
Well, what's it good for then?
Well, it's storing value in a speculative way.
So it's just a bubble. People buying and selling.
It's like tulips.
No, I mean, it's becoming mainstream in places like Dubai and stuff, isn't it? I mean, not Bitcoin, but blockchain. Actual sort of that kind of technology, right?
Yeah.
I thought that people sort of.
Yeah, people seem. I honestly don't really know, but I know it's not as efficient as cash for what cash does. But it's.
But it means you can transfer money more cheaply. I thought abroad and things like that.
Yeah, there's ways. I don't particularly know. All I know is I've punted 100 quid on it. Oh yeah. Hold the fort, Ed.
So it's just me.
Do you want to sing another song?
Yeah, because we're supposed to do a harmony for that song. I got it all ready and everything. I got harmonies ready. I don't even know what camera's on. I thought we were going to do a countdown of all the elections as they came in and everything, and it doesn't seem to be happening. And no state seems to decide they gave up on the election. There isn't any election anymore. Gave up. What is it? Slugs? What's that?
It's based out of
There are some very strange food.
cured mango.
Cured mango. Can't you? You won't be on camera. Well, if anyone leaves the camera, then obviously it's not.
The show's over.
There
Don't worry, I'm here to hold the fort.
What is it? Slugs?
Put it in your gum.
Oh, okay.
Don't eat it.
Thanks.
Put it in
It's
your
a
gum.
piece of
Like tobacco, like
snooze.
chewing tobacco.
Like snooze. Like put it in your gum and just let it percolate through the.
CBD.
Yeah.
What is CBD?
I don't know.
CBD. CBD.
It's not sweet. It's like that sort of.
It's kind of savoury and sweet, isn't it? It's a bit of citrus in it.
Well, it reminds me of that.
Spice. It's like curry.
Yeah, curry.
What is CBD? Anybody know what CBD is?
Cock and ball torture.
Like a bull torture. There we go.
I think there's a number of different.
It's a cannabinoid.
Oh, CBD. What? Have I just eaten cannabis? What? Are you serious? Because I'm not into it.
Wait, it's cannabis. It's this. It's CBD, whatever that is. Anyway, right. Ed, should we call it a day?
I don't know. I thought we were doing a countdown.
No, well, no one's gonna. We're not gonna find anything out until 7:30 in the morning.
It's quite hot, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right then. Well,
Right, ladies and gents, we're going to sign off. But thanks for watching. And
right,
tune in.
Ciao, bello.
Yeah. The thing is, we're leaving you tonight. We don't know who's going to be president of the free world tomorrow. It's just interesting. Evening,
Open to question, isn't it? We'll be interested to see tomorrow who's the president. Though, of course, it won't be actually decided for several weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe never.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Well, the world keeps turning on its axis.
Maybe there'll be two presidents. Like
one man works while another relaxes. There might be two presidents.
Like there were two popes. Once.
Yeah. More popes. That's what I say. See you later.
I